Chapter 243. Over at the film studio complex, besides the eye-catching palace in the middle, there was also a hotel. However, the hotel was built in the style of an Enchanting, not like the skyscrapers that could be seen everywhere in the new era. This was the first time they had stayed in such an old-fashioned hotel, and the cast and crew felt it was a novelty. This trip was worth it. This was what the cast and crew were thinking. Although they were not used to Planet Y and there were many inconveniences, and they would not be able to see their families until filming was over, filming in this kind of place was not bad. They could treat it as an alternative vacation. There were no high-rise buildings, and they were surrounded by green mountains and clear waters. There were also ancient buildings that were nearing completion. Their tense mood was relaxed. This place is going to be popular, the cast and crew director sighed as he stood on the second floor of the hotel. With one look, it was clear that this was not a small project. The company was investing in this place for long-term development. Furthermore, there were investors from more than one continent here. While the cast and crew of beauties were checking into the hotel, Zaro, dressed as a vampire, was returning to his territory on a nearby mountain. Every day, he would go to the newly constructed palace at Silver Wing to take a look. Then, he would go to the surrounding mountains to check on the progress of various parties. Today, after taking a stroll around Silver Wing's palace, he was dissatisfied with the slow progress of his territory. Why isn't it done yet? Silver Wing's first phase is almost complete. I went to see it today. They have already started preparing for the second phase. Why is there no sign of our first phase? Zaro's agent was helpless when he heard Zaro's complaints. He had discussed it with the design team for many days before he realized how complicated it was. Who knows why Silver Wing is so fast? Maybe they are ready in advance. Everyone was busy to the point of dizziness, but this young Master Zaro was leisurely strolling around every day. Although Zaro's agent had initially disapproved of Zaro throwing money at Planet Y, after meeting the other investors, he was no longer so worried. He felt that there were still benefits to be gained. Since there were benefits to be gained, then he had to get things done seriously. The most difficult part was how much effort he had to put into the design. Silver Wing is in a hurry to build because they want to shoot a series, Zaro's agent said. Zaro said disdainfully, "Is it that palace drama you mentioned before? I heard that it was just a bunch of women quarreling." Even if it was filmed, it would be a flop. The agent wanted to say that this was a project personally decided by Silver Wing's boss. Silver Wing's foresight was better than yours. Since he decided to shoot it, he must have done market research and analysis. However, seeing Zaro's confident look, he didn't say anything else. No matter how much he said, it would go in one ear and out the other. Actually, they all knew that there were too few dramas set in ancient times, and no one was willing to shoot them. Even if they did, they would be criticized by the academics, saying that the settings were not rigorous, the props were of poor quality, the special effects were messy, and so on. Over the years, the number of historical dramas that had won awards in major awards could be counted on one hand, and most of them were artistic and fresh, which did not suit the tastes of the public. When Zaro had first arrived, he had found out that Silver Wing was going to film a drama. This was the film studio complex, and he felt that it would be a waste if his company did not film something. Clap. Let's film a historical drama too. However, Leizu's history was different from Yenjo's. The old era and the ancient history before the old era were also different. For this reason, Zaro had flipped through a lot of video material and even made some inquiries from various parties. He knew that Wu Tianhao and his uncle were preparing to collaborate on a drama about flying and killing in the sky. Barbara was preparing to remake a few popular fairy tales from the old era. Yesterday, when he had gone over, he had heard that Barbara had asked people on Earth to custom-make pumpkin cars and crystal shoes. Zaro felt that she was simply crazy. After looking around and flipping through the materials, Zaro had decided on the genre, vampires. We won't film those. Didn't they film some vampire count in the old era? I have also built a castle. Let's film Vampire Duke. Have you decided on the actors? The agent asked. The actor you found last time wasn't good enough. He was just good looking. What's the use of being good looking? Whether or not he can hold up still depends on his talent, Zaro said disdainfully. Talent? For example? For example, me. The agent was silent. What gave Zaro such confidence? Zaro had decided to play the lead himself. That was why Zaro was running around dressed as a vampire. In Zaro's own words, he was trying to get a feel for himself. I think I should give myself a stage name, Zaro had suddenly thought of after meeting the few actors from Silver Wing. Celebrities change their stage names when they enter the industry for luck or other purposes, to attract more attention. The agent didn't even lift his head. But as far as I know, more than 90% of famous movie stars don't use their real names. I think it's better to give myself a stage name. Who knows, I might be able to change my luck and make a killing. What do you want to change? I've asked. Don't they like to add words to their names? My real name is Zaro. I'll add a little more. Caesaro, Pizarro, Bizarro. The agent thought to himself, why don't you call yourself Zaro? Or do you want to be like Wu Tianhao and hide your surname? Zaro continued. What difference does it make to you? Zaro Rena hiding his surname is still Zaro. That's true. Then what should I change? Don't even think about it. Senior Master, you are famous enough in Lei Ju. Even if you wore armor, it would be useless, not to mention a pseudonym. Zaro thought about it. Who asked him to be so famous in Lei Ju? Thinking of this, Zaro became proud again. When can we finish building it? Zaro asked. The design has to be rigorous, so it will definitely take longer. Silver Wing must have planned this for a long time. Who knows how long they've been planning this? Now that they're in a rush to shoot, it's understandable that they're building it quickly. Look at others. Are they that fast? The agent said. That's true. Wu Tianhao's uncle's coxcomb building isn't finished either. That's called a temple building. Regardless of the building, our castle has to be faster than theirs. The design can be finalized in 2 days. After that, it will be quick. Get someone from the company to come over first. As for the actors, let them decide. Get them to bring the cast and crew over as soon as possible. At the mention of this, Zaro got excited again. The company would bring over his custom-made costumes and props. His current outfit didn't feel like a noble's style. Make the surrounding scenery a little more sinister, Zaro nitpicked as he looked at the design plans. Zaro's agent didn't respond. He just treated it as a fart. Today, I saw the name of the designer engraved on the stone tablet at Silver Wing's palace entrance. When we place the stone tablet here, remember to engrave my name on it as well, Zaro exhorted before leaving. Got it. Zaro's agent thought, Fang Zhao has really contributed because of his historical foundation. What did Zaro do in terms of design? You're just pointing fingers and talking nonsense. However, the name list had to be engraved. Given Zaro's personality, he didn't want to be behind others, so he could only engrave it at the top. If he didn't engrave it as the designer, then he would engrave it as the owner of the castle. Online. Silver Wing released another status update. Silver Wing's film and television department displayed 9 photos in a row. The first was a group photo of the main cast and crew. The background was a majestic ancient palace. Behind it were photos of the main characters and buildings. There were photos of the palace and the actors in the palace after changing into their costumes. Heelezi exuded a regal aura. He exuded authority even when he wasn't angry. There were a few female leads in exquisite costumes and accessories. Some were elegant and dignified, while others were slender and charming. Because it was a big investment, a lot of effort was spent on the costumes, accessories, and other details. It felt completely different from the low-budget period dramas online. The appearance and acting skills of each actor made the eyes of the fans stare straight at them. The last photo was an aerial shot of the palace. There was even a special note in the photo: this is a replica of an ancient palace. It is a physical building. 1-to-1, a physical building. It's not CGI. An ancient palace built on Planet Y? No wonder they went to Planet Y to film. Silver Wing directly built a palace there. I'm kneeling. Silver Wing is really generous this time. After these photos were released, it didn't just affect Yangju. Other continents were also shocked by Silver Wing's extravagance. Prior to this, no one had gone to the outer ring to build a physical building. Even if there had been, it had not been on such a large scale. Coupled with Silver Wing's publicity team pushing the news, in no time, Yangzhou's entertainment news headlines were all about this news. This time, Silver Wing was in the limelight in the global film industry. While everyone was heatedly discussing Silver Wing's location on Planet Y and experts were analyzing whether or not this investment was worth it, there was movement in other continents as well. Tongzhou's famous entertainment company, Legend Entertainment, released an announcement: Legend of the Mountain of Immortals will be heading to Planet Y for filming. The photo was a group photo of the cast and crew at the entrance of the spaceport. Very quickly, Zaro's wireless company, known as Leizu's big brother, released a new announcement: the cast and crew of Vampire Duke will be heading to Planet Y for filming. A familiar background, a familiar entrance to the spaceport. Lajou, Cinderella Entertainment released a new announcement: Cinderella will be heading to Planet Y for filming. It was another group photo at the spaceport. 3 pieces of news in a row were like 3 bombs dropped in the film and television industry. Cinderella Entertainment. I've never heard of this company before. Someone revealed that the company belongs to Barbara Lacalina. Lacalina. Even if other continents did not know who Barbara was, seeing the surname Lacalina was like adding a halo. Are these cast and crew doing a show at the spaceport? They're all addicted to it. These are all entertainment companies with some background. You don't say. I suddenly feel that filming on Planet Y is so cool. I just want to know, when did these entertainment companies form a group to invest on Planet Y? I'm curious, are there other buildings on Planet Y? I really want to go to Planet Y to take a look. Don't waste your energy. I just asked. Only transport ships can go to Planet Y, but transport ships are not open to the public. Isn't S4 on Planet Y? Are there no live broadcasts? Nope. Wu Tianhao actually hid it so well. Regarding this matter, many people did not understand. When did this bunch of people secretly invest on Planet Y, and why did they choose Planet Y? Practically all entertainment news headlines were dominated by the news of filming on Planet Y, so much so that even new series in the same industry could not stir up any hype. Netizens were very realistic. Every time they saw news of a new series being filmed by a certain company or a certain movie star, the most common question was, where are they filming? Why aren't they going to Planet Y? The other entertainment companies were also feeling bitter. The bosses of the various entertainment companies were also stunned by the news. They did not know that Silver Wing, Wireless Media, Legend Pictures, and the newly opened Cinderella Pictures, these companies that usually had nothing to do with each other, had secretly joined hands to stir up trouble on Planet Y. Chapter 244. Everyone wanted to know why these entertainment companies had teamed up and when they had colluded, but no matter how hard people investigated, they couldn't find any concrete details. It seemed like these companies had suddenly come together. Some entertainment reporters had already gotten wind of Silver Wing's new drama series and knew it was going to be filmed. They had even gone to the coastal filming studio that Silver Wing was building. In the end, a barrage of news bombarded them, making them feel like they had been set up by Silver Wing. Seeing the various production teams keep us in suspense every day, the entertainment reporters were scratching their heads in frustration. Especially the famous paparazzi from every continent. They were cursed by netizens. What are the paparazzi kings and entertainment reporters of every continent doing? What a bunch of trash. Don't try to fool us with the trivial matters of other production teams. I just want to know which production team on Planet Y, be it Beauties, Mountain of Immortals, or Vampire, or Cinderella, I don't have high expectations for you. Just secretly take a picture of a celebrity every day. The entertainment reporters felt bitter when they saw these comments. Not fucking high expectations. If I could get a picture, why would I have to wait here? Silver Wing and the other entertainment companies had full control of the news. Unless they released the news themselves, no one could dig up anything useful. Choosing a foreign planet to film was probably to guard against reporters like us, right? Treacherous, really treacherous. This can't go on, a middle-aged entertainment reporter said helplessly as he browsed through the online comments. All they could do was wait for news to leak from Planet Y. What can we do? We are not spaceships. We can't fly into space, a young entertainment reporter said, stiffening in his chair. We can see if we can sneak onto the next transport ship heading to Planet Y. Stowaway, bullshit. Are you tired of living? Stowaway. Do you think the soldiers on the transport ship are holding toy guns? What do you mean? Find out which other production teams are heading to Planet Y. Sneak into the production team and follow them over. That's all we can do. Yang Ju. Wang Tai, who was known as Yenzhou's paparazzi king, snorted when he saw the comments online calling him trash. Very well, you guys have successfully stirred my blood. Isn't it just Planet Y? He would get over it somehow. He was only afraid of Fang Zhao. He wasn't afraid of anyone else, and now that Fang Zhao was undergoing military service on Planet Baiji, he didn't have to worry about encountering Fang Zhao. The paparazzi kings of the various continents were also competing with each other. They could use this incident to prove who was the real paparazzi king of the world. No matter how crazy the entertainment reporters on Earth were, for the actors and actresses at the Y Film Studio complex, being able to film in peace and having fun in their free time without having to worry about being secretly photographed was great. He could even sleep soundly. Only celebrities who were not famous wanted to stir up news. Most of the celebrities who came this time did not need to stir up news themselves. As long as they finished filming, the company would naturally help them stir up the news. All they needed to do was to honestly film a good show. After another scene was shot, the actors entered a short break. G. Poland sat to the side and summarized his shortcomings. He Lizzie was worthy of being Yenzhou's A-list movie star. Just a lowered eyebrow could make people's hearts tighten. Back then, G. Poland had shivered, but that had been a real reaction from his body and not an act. He still had to work hard. Otherwise, he could only play the role of a follower in the future. He did not want to continue playing the role of a eunuch in the future. However, following by the side of an A-list star had its benefits. He Lizzie had revealed some information to him yesterday. The project beauties had been personally set by their big boss. She had high standards and high expectations. Don't be fooled by Duan Qianji's usually mild attitude, but that was on the basis that she was satisfied. If anyone could not satisfy her, she would make life difficult for them. Therefore, regardless of whether the actors had any conflicts, they had to let it go during filming. Otherwise, they would be out of luck. Everyone thought that Beauties was the project that the big boss had been preparing for a long time and was the most important. However, according to what he Lizzie had indirectly revealed to G. Poland, this court drama was actually just a test run. If it was successful, there would be an even bigger project to follow. It was also set in ancient history, but the scale was even bigger. It was about emperors and contending for hegemony. Whether they could enter the next cast or not would depend on their own ability. If they did not perform well in this film, they would have to pack up and go back to the company for the next one. Of course, G. Poland did not want to leave. Participating in the filming of the company's big projects naturally had its benefits. Another reason was that this was the film studio complex. Besides Silver Wing, there were film companies from other continents and other production crews. Getting to know more people was always a good thing. Who knew, he might be able to gain some global fame in advance. Thinking of the stone tablet in front of the palace gates, G. Poland once again sighed in his heart. This person, Fang Zhao, was really mystical. Now, nobody knew what role Fang Zhao had played in this matter. All they knew was that Fang Zhao had participated in the investment of the film studio complex and was part of the design team. People from other continents seemed to be related to Fang Zhao as well. Someone from the cast and crew said that they had heard Tongzhou's Wu Tianhao and Leizhu's Wu Tianhao mention Fang Zhao in a conversation yesterday. In the future, I'll have to visit the virtual projects department more often, G. Poland thought to himself. Wu Tianhao looked at the selfie taken by the camera. Long, snow-white robes, jade belt, folding fan, elegant demeanor, the whole picture of a suave and handsome young man. Handsome. Wu Tianhao stroked the long wig on his head in satisfaction and indicated that the special correspondent, Tang Ku, could begin. Watching the flashing lights of the live broadcast countdown, Wu Tianhao chose a meticulously designed angle and adjusted his facial expression to what he thought was the coolest. The moment the live broadcast began, he dazzlingly spun around, opened his folding fan, and smiled elegantly at the camera. I am Tianhao, from Mountain of Immortals. Tang Ku, who was controlling the camera, twitched. What a fucking pretentious act. However, Wu Tianhao's fans really fell for it. S4's comment section went into a frenzy of heated discussion. Let's not talk about how excited Wu Tianhao's fans were. People with other motives were paying attention to a different matter. Is he going to act in Mountain of Immortals? He's already starting to advertise. I just want to see what kind of secrets Planet Y has. Wu Tianhao didn't care about what others thought. He started the live broadcast to show off. After he was done, he said, I know you all want to ask about Planet Y and see what's in the surroundings, but unfortunately, I can't satisfy you at the moment. I can only take you to my dojo. News about the cast and crew of beauties that had already started filming could only be released through Silver Wing. This was something Duan Chenji had specifically told him. He wasn't a Yangju native, so he didn't need to give Duan Chenji face, but he had to abide by the film studio complex's development agreement. It wasn't just Silver Wing, other parties had the same idea. News had to be released through their own hands and not through the mouths of others. If they wanted to release more news through the live broadcast, they would naturally seek out Wu Tianhao to discuss a collaboration. Otherwise, Wu Tianhao was better off keeping his mouth shut and paying attention to the camera. Anyone who broke the rules would be kicked out of the film studio complex. This had been agreed upon when they had signed the contract. Wu Tianhao hadn't even shown his uncle's building. The actual filming location for Mountain of Immortals had red pillars, green tiles, and carved beams. The ancient-looking temple complex had yet to be completed. His uncle had said that they had to maintain a sense of mystery, so nothing would be filmed. The audience was a little disappointed. They couldn't watch anywhere else, but they could see the dojo that Wu Tianhao had mentioned. Those who had come to Channel S4 were curious. Oh, he's building a dojo on Planet Y? Is it like those places from the old era where groups of people practiced martial arts? Is it also used for filming? Quick, 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 let's see what Tianhao's dojo looks like. Then, under everyone's anticipation, Wu Tianhao showed them a foundation. Audience. Wu Tianhao was in high spirits. The first dojo will be built here today. From now on, you will be able to see the changes here and witness its birth. After showing the audience the dojo's foundation, Wu Tianhao said, I know many people will be disappointed, but I have a surprise for everyone today. Some audience members who were about to switch channels widened their eyes and stared unblinkingly at the screen, waiting for the surprise Wu Tianhao was talking about. Could it be some celebrity or some special building? The audience was filled with anticipation at this thought. Amidst everyone's anticipation, a pale face suddenly dominated the camera. His eyes were bloodshot, and he had long fangs. His mouth was covered in blood as he let out a roar. Roar. Online audiences. I was eating. I was so scared I spat, fuck. Fuck. I was lying down watching the live broadcast. I was so scared I jumped out of bed and hit my head. It's late at night over here. I was so scared I woke up. Which idiot is this? Speaking of idiots, I thought of someone. On the live broadcast screen, the face that dominated the entire screen retreated and let out a strange cackle. Then it wiped the blood from the corner of its mouth. Hello everyone, I am Vampire Duke Zaro. Are you surprised? Are you happy? Ha 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 ha. That was my berserk mode just now. Are you guys scared? Online audiences. It really is him. As soon as I heard wireless investments, I knew he would be there. I saw this guy on Channel S5. Why am I seeing him on Channel S4? Even though they had been frightened by his terrifying costume, the audience was still very curious. Zaro even took them on a tour of his first castle to show off. Over the next few days, There was new information coming from Channel S4's live broadcast every day. Various film and television companies also released some photos and videos. One day, all the cast and crew members who had arrived at the extraterrestrial film and television base got together and took a group photo. The location of the photo was shown: Y Film Studio Complex. Y Film Studio Complex? Why actually built a film studio complex? Sounds great. Film City, Zhong Yichen said. Companies from Yangzhou, Tongju, Leizhou, and Lazhou are all filming there. This is really high class. Teams from a few companies also joined forces to hype up the Y Film Studio Complex. Under their combined efforts, netizens also started to feel that filming at Y Film Studio Complex was a must. Otherwise, they could forget about big investments. Y Film Studio Complex became famous. Especially in the film and television circles, it could be said that everyone knew about it. As more and more photos were released from the film studio complex, ancient buildings that only appeared in history books were reappearing on Planet Y. Not just one building, not just one street, but a large range of buildings with unique styles from different eras and continents. These buildings appeared in groups before the eyes of the people of the new era. A silent civilization, the aura of history. Not to mention the actors, even the ordinary people wanted to go there and have a look. Many scholars in the field of history from universities also started to make plans to make a trip to Planet Y. This also became a standard for fans to measure the quality of a film. Filming a historical drama? If they didn't go to the Y Film Studio Complex, would it be good to watch? It would definitely be the same as those low-budget lay dramas of the past. Big investments. Don't believe that a big investment wouldn't go to the Y Film Studio Complex. Knowing what people were thinking, various entertainment companies also had their own ideas. People who wanted to invest on Planet Y started to use their connections to purchase land from the Y base and participate in the Film Studio Complex project. Those who wanted to invest on Planet Y mostly involved film and television entertainment or hotels and restaurants. Huoyi would naturally give the first batch of investors the most preferential treatment, but he wouldn't be so kind to the people who came after. Since the reputation had already been established and the buzz had been hyped, people who wanted to invest here would enjoy some preferential treatment, but it wouldn't be as much as Fang Zhao and the other first batch of investors. The land would definitely be a little more expensive. The more time passed, the more famous Planet Y became, and those who invested in the past would enjoy less preferential treatment. This was something everyone understood. Entertainment companies that were rich could just buy land from the Y base and build their own, but some entertainment companies felt that the investment risk was too high, the construction period was too long, and the design plans were too troublesome. They might not even be able to build better than others, so it was more convenient to just rent land. Now that ancient historical dramas were very popular, they just wanted to follow the trend and shoot small-scale historical dramas. They planned to rent a few suitable locations at the film studio complex. Over at the film studio complex, no matter where it was, the rent was calculated by the day. Although the rent wasn't low, it was still less risky than investing. Some small companies or individual teams thought that they could just shoot for 10 days to half a month before pulling out. The main point was to borrow the hype of Planet Y's film studio complex. On the whole, it was still worth it. There were also some people who said they were going to film, but in reality, they were just going for a stroll. They didn't rent a filming location, just stayed a few nights in a hotel in the film studio complex and took some photos to hype up the place. That was enough. In any case, fans wouldn't know if they were really renting a filming location. Actually, it wasn't that many people didn't have the money to rent a filming location at the film studio complex, but they simply couldn't get a seat. How many entertainment companies in the world's 12 continents had the idea of renting a filming location instead of building their own? The space at the film studio complex was limited. Even renting an inn required a queue. Planet Baiji. Fang Zhao finished reading the latest financial report sent over by Planet Y and continued to edit the design plans. The construction of the Imperial Palace was the result of the collective efforts of the design team. Such a huge Imperial Palace had been restored to its original appearance during the old era, And it wasn't just the exterior that resembled it. The construction of the inner palace, the interior design, the interior and exterior environment, the rooftop sculptures, the selection of materials, and so on. Every detail down to a potted plant had been meticulously prepared. Every brick used new era technology. They looked similar to those from the old era, but they were sturdier and more durable. After all, when they created these, they hadn't truly restored the original materials. That was impossible. For people from the new era, those old era buildings were too fragile. The bosses also didn't want the buildings they had painstakingly built to be destroyed within a few episodes of filming. Now, Fang Zhao's design plans were of streets and official residences. On the display screen beside him were all sorts of historical information. This information had the effect of aiding memory, allowing Fang Zhao to recall many scenes buried in his memories. Fang Zhao was different from other historical researchers in the new era in that he viewed things from a different angle. He could look at things from the perspective of a person from the old era, but researchers from the new era would inevitably overlook some things. Kevin Lin dropped by and asked, "Hasn't the construction on Planet Y been completed?" They had already moved into a new dormitory. It was a single room, and it was much more comfortable. Kevin Lin was so excited that he wasn't sleepy at all, so he came over to chat with Fang Zhao about Planet Y's film studio complex. Soon. There's still one more street. That side will be completed. Fang Zhao put down the pen in his hand and looked at Kevin Lin. What news did you get? Chapter 245. Channel S4 had attracted a lot of attention, but Channel S5 was still the same, and the audience had not decreased much. After all, Planet Baiji had no shortage of news. Every time Fang Zhao went with the outpost team to assist with construction, he could always capture some thrilling scenes, such as those strange, ferocious beasts and dangerous plants on Planet Baiji. Sometimes, when Fang Zhao and the outpost team went on missions to more dangerous places, Kevin Lin found it inconvenient to tag along, so he went to the military family district to conduct interviews and let the audience understand the psychological changes of the first batch of immigrants. This also piqued the curiosity of many viewers. The first batch of immigrants actually did not have it as good as people made it out to be. At the start, there were all sorts of discomfort. Acclimatization was one of the minor issues. What was more important was the psychological aspect. Luckily, there were professional counselors in the military family district. Kevin Lin would tell people about these things through live broadcasts or interviews. Kevin Lin had also interviewed great-grandfather and great-grandmother Fang. They had probably had similar experiences, so the two elders did not feel uncomfortable when they came to the military family district. Furthermore, the surrounding people treated them well and were very warm and friendly. Because they liked the environment and atmosphere here, they would wait until Fang Zhao retired next year before leaving together. Shanta had asked Kevin Lin to air more of the interviews with great-grandfather and great-grandmother Fang. This would be positive publicity for Planet Baiji's immigration plan. It was to tell people that while there would be discomfort when immigrating, once one adapted, one would be able to lead a good life. Now, as the communications network was becoming more mature, internet fees were dropping bit by bit. People who were not used to it at the start were no longer so agitated. Entertainment could divert people's attention. Beauties had already started airing, with 2 episodes a day. Technological innovation had greatly reduced the post-production time. As long as filming went smoothly, the series would be out very quickly. There were special effects, but they were just supplementary effects. It was not like those old period dramas, where besides the people, it was all special effects. Some companies even used virtual idols for their characters. The series that Zaro had thought was a flop became the most popular topic on major video websites the moment it started airing. Most of the viewers were women. Many people in the military family district also liked it. To save money on internet fees, immigrants would gather from time to watch the series. After Beauties, Vampire Duke, Mountain of Immortals, Cinderella, and other series also started airing. Zaro might seem unreliable normally, but his acting had improved a lot after this setback. The Leiju audience was speculating about why Zaro had changed so much. Zaro's manager looked at the number of views online and felt gratified. Bringing Zaro to watch Wu Tianhao and the others filming had been beneficial. At least it had spurred Zaro to be more serious in his acting career. Why did it seem like Zaro had acted especially well this time? Because there were very few lines. If Zaro really wanted to put on the airs of a noble young master, he would still be the same. After all, he was born in the Renault family and was influenced by what he saw and heard. He knew what a noble should be like. When he got serious, he could still intimidate others. Of course, the prerequisite was that he didn't speak. This guy was asking for a beating the moment he opened his mouth. In order to achieve better results, after discussing with the scriptwriter, Zaro's agent cut out 70% of his original lines. Vampire Duke was loved by many young people. Even the silver cross ornaments that appeared in the show were selling well. Even the price of garlic had risen. The unique utensils in the show, such as the black cloak, were also selling well. In addition to the advertising fees, copyright fees, endorsements, and other income, the income from this drama was quite a lot. The money spent on buying land and building the castle could be earned back. It was the same for the other shows, which satisfied all the companies. 90% of the current hot dramas were filmed at the Y Film Studio complex. There were romantic fairy tales, action thrillers, court battles, hot-blooded hegemony, supernatural horror films with historical backgrounds, and historical period comedies. There were shows that adults loved to watch, and there were shows that were suitable for children. After watching so many interstellar wars, superhuman monsters, and explosions, everyone felt that watching ancient movies was novel. The popularity of these few series had also set off a wave of historical trends. It was convenient to film on Planet Y, but if it had been Planet Baiji and a bunch of people had entered the mountains without military protection, it was hard to say if even one of them would have made it out alive. Silver Wing was currently filming another warring drama set in ancient times, Warring States. In order to film this drama, many more buildings were built. A few celebrities from Yangzhou who had started their own studios hooked up with Silver Wing to film on Planet Y. The pay was secondary. They had other motives. First, they wanted to know what the Y Film Studio complex was like. Second, there were many film crews here. There were actors, directors, and investors from all over the world. Getting to know more people would open up more avenues. Many people could fly high in Yangzhou, but on a global scale, they were nothing. Yangzhou alone was still too small. Ambitious actors and actresses all wanted to develop globally, and the Y Film Studio complex had provided such an opportunity. Y Base Commander Hue Yi had been developing at the film studio complex. After the news had stirred up, he had submitted an application for a film studio cultural base. At the start, Hue Yi had been very apprehensive. After all, his previous applications for key research facilities had been unsuccessful. Now that he was applying for a film studio cultural base, he was filled with anticipation, but he was also mentally prepared to be rejected. However, the moment he received the approval and saw the words application successful, Hue Yi's hands trembled. He wanted to shout out loud, but he forcefully held it in and suppressed the surging ecstasy in his heart. Hue Yi sat in his office for the entire afternoon, thinking about many things, but when he came back to his senses, he realized that he had not come up with anything. That day, Hue Yi informed the various investors of the film studio complex that the Y Film Studio complex would be renamed Y Film Studio Cultural Base. A few companies and big stars posted new statuses on their social media platforms. The location had already been changed to Y Film Studio Cultural Base. The Film Studio Complex and the Film Studio Cultural Base. Just hearing these two names made it clear which was of a higher grade. Since the Film Studio Cultural Base had already been approved, the original film studio complex would certainly continue to expand and develop. It would not be limited to its current scale. Planet Y could not be like Planet Baiji, relying on higher-grade power ores to drive its development. It could only follow the path of Y's characteristics. Hue Yi planned to expand both the key research facility and the film studio cultural base. They did not need to compare themselves with planet Baiji. They just needed to compare themselves with other planets of the same grade. It had to be said that the success of the film studio cultural base application made Planet Y more known. In the past, even with the impetus of Project Starlight, there were still many people who did not know or understand Planet Y. Now, with the reconstruction of those ancient buildings, even more people knew about Planet Y. When the investors who had been watching from the sidelines saw this news, a portion of them made their decision. The remaining portion was still hesitant, until the Y base once again announced that Planet Y's key research facility had been approved. After Huoyi's application for the film studio cultural base was successful, he gritted his teeth and submitted another application for the key research facility. This time, he cited many examples of economic value. For example, during the filming of Beauties, which Silver Wing had invested in, many of the plants and decorations in the royal palace had been transplanted from the experimental plots. Furthermore, because of the popularity of the series, some bonsai plants had become popular. Through this method, the plants in the experimental plots had publicized their existence. This was the result of a discussion between Silver Wing and the researchers. A few big sellers in the flower market had already contacted Planet Y to place an advance order for a batch of goods. With popularity and economic value, the chances of the application being approved were high. However, the moment he received the approval, Huoyi could not help but tear up. Finally approved. Double bases. Double insurance. In the future, the scale of the film studio cultural base and the key research facility would be even larger. Expansion was a certainty. A large military district like Planet Baiji would not be able to compare to Planet Baiji in terms of authority, profits, and development, but it was still much better than before. After the key research facility was approved, the ARC project experiment would continue. A few plants with higher economic value would be revived in the seed bank. As long as there were benefits, there would be sufficient funding for this aspect of research. In the past, when investors heard that Planet Y was looking for investments, their first thought was, "Heh, don't even think of tricking me into investing." Now, although Planet Y was still looking for investments, the conditions were no longer as favorable as before. Not only had land prices doubled, but there were also other restrictions. And people who followed Project Starlight could not help but think, among the 5 channels, first, Channel S5 had caused a global storm. Now, Channel S4 was located on a planet with 2 bases. Who knew if the remaining 3 channels would be able to produce any more big news? The people who had proposed Project Starlight were all smiles. See, hasn't this already changed the predicament of 2 planets? On Planet Baiji, Fang Zhao was looking at yet another financial report. These few financial reports showed that revenues and expenses were rising, but overall, revenues were increasing. Now, there were more and more people heading to the Y Film Entertainment cultural base to film. Some only rented small locations, such as an inn or 2 shops. Kevin Lin browsed the news online and lamented, "Now everyone knows that Planet Y has 2 must-see attractions. One is the Y Film Entertainment cultural base, where you can admire the ancient architectural styles of various continents and enjoy the feeling of traveling back in time. The other is the key research facility. I heard that there is a peach blossom garden there. The best viewing period has already passed. Next year, when the peach blossoms bloom, I will go over to take a look." Looking at the scenery on Planet Y and then thinking about the situation on Planet Baiji, Kevin Lin felt that if Planet Baiji did not discover any high-level power ore, it would always be at the bottom of the development sequence. It was not that the scenery was bad, but Planet Baiji was too dangerous. There are so many celebrities at the Y Film Entertainment cultural base. I heard that you can meet quite a few big stars just by having a meal there. I really want to go and take a look. Special reporters should be able to go, right? We are not entertainment reporters. Kevin Lin did a search and did not find any specific regulations. All he knew was that although the number of flights to Planet Y had increased and there were other spaceships, identity checks were still very strict. The number of troops stationed at the Y base had also increased. If you apply through your company, the chances of success will be higher. If you apply as an individual, They might not allow you to board the spaceship, Fang Zhao said. Kevin Lin mumbled to himself and suddenly asked, "Hey, Fang Zhao, after your military service is over, you will surely go there often, right? Also, doesn't your company have a big piece of land at the Y Film Entertainment Cultural Base? You have your own investments. Who knows, you might even get a supporting role in some series. Nowadays, aren't all the celebrities with a bit of fame being invited to guest star in movies? Even that Marjo shooter, Ma Xie, made a guest appearance in a movie as a sniper killer. Acting out of friendship or something like that can increase one's popularity." In Kevin Lin's opinion, Fang Zhao making a guest appearance, showing his face, gaining some popularity, and satisfying his craving was enough. There was no way he could play an important supporting role, let alone the lead role. Fang Zhao smiled but did not say anything. His communications device rang. "Denzel." Fang Zhao was astonished. "Fang Zhao, have you returned to the outpost?" Denzel looked thinner than before, and he did not seem to be in a good state of mind, as if he had not slept well in a long time. "I have." "What's the matter?" Fang Zhao asked. "Can you help me contact Planet Y? I wish to rent a body of water in Planet Y's polar regions. I have already completed all the necessary approval documents for breeding. If not for the fact that the polar regions on Earth do not allow private rentals, I would have successfully started breeding here long ago." Denzel had heard from Planet Y's research base that Fang Zhao had been to Planet Y. Although he had already left the Academy of Science, his connections were still there. It was not difficult to find out that Fang Zhao had been to Planet Y. The polar regions no longer allowed breeding. Denzel had gone over with a pile of approval documents, only to be told that the area was no longer rented. Denzel was extremely anxious now. He had contacted many people for help and found out from a classmate at the Y research base that the polar regions of Planet Y's polar regions were closer to Earth's. But now that Planet Y's vetting was very strict, they could not help much, but they told Denzel that Fang Zhao might be able to pass a message to Huoyi directly. Now, Huoyi was full of confidence and was putting on airs. Planet Y no longer lacked research projects. The application for a key research base had been successful, and there was no need for other research projects to be inserted. Huoyi took a look at the application and immediately deleted it. Huoyi would rather not bring in any new projects than make a mistake. Many people were watching them. If the two existing research bases were developed well, things would naturally go smoothly in the future. Such a good situation could not be ruined. Now, he did not need to do the vetting himself. There were professionals in charge of the investment aspect. Huoyi just needed to understand it every once in a while. Thus, Denzel looked for Fan Lin and obtained Fang Zhao's activity time at the outpost. Only when Fang Zhao finished his day's missions and returned to the outpost did he hurriedly contact Fan Lin. "If it is successful, I will give you a 30% discount on the feed." "No, 50%. As long as you can help, 50% off the feed." "How about that? That sea slug eats a lot, so it is impossible for the feed to be free. However, a 50% discount is already the best we can offer," Denzel said. "I don't need much. Just pass a message to Huoyi." Fang Zhao did not immediately agree. Instead, he asked, "Only breeding krill? Send me the electronic version of the approval documents." Denzel sent Fang Zhao a large batch of documents. He had already prepared the required documents. If not for the fact that Earth's waters were prohibited from being rented, he would not have needed to seek Fang Zhao's help. Speaking of which, Denzel also felt sullen. Originally, after finding out that Fang Zhao had a dog worth over 100 million, he had planned to sell feed to Fang Zhao at a high price. Unfortunately, before he could put it into practice, he had to seek Fang Zhao's help. Not only could he not sell it at a high price, he had to give him a discount. Fang Zhao gave the documents a cursory glance and nodded. "I will ask first. I will inform you immediately if there is any news." After ending the call, Fang Zhao carefully read through the approval documents one by one. These documents did not involve any technical secrets. Even if they did, Denzel had already applied for a patent on them and was not afraid of them being stolen. Otherwise, Denzel would not have sent these documents over so decisively. After looking through them, Fang Zhao found a map of Planet Y. These were all given to them by Hue Yi. The map was not complete, but it showed all the places that could be purchased. Chapter 246. Fang Zhao took a closer look at the area. There were tall mountains and valleys with little rainfall. The climate was desert, and the surroundings were rocky. There were very few flora and fauna living there. Because of this, the entire area exuded a deathly aura that was different from other areas. Even though Fang Zhao had never been there personally, he could tell from the map. Fang Zhao checked the time and contacted Hue Yi. Because Fang Zhao was one of the first investors and had played an important role in the construction of the film entertainment cultural base, Hue Yi gave Fang Zhao face and told him to contact him directly if there was anything important. Fang Zhao, could it be that you want to invest somewhere? Hue Yi had been riding the crest of success recently. He had a smile on his face in the video call. Are you selling this piece of land? Fang Zhao marked out the area on the map for Hue Yi to see. The area was rather large, and Fang Zhao did not have enough funds on hand to buy it. The money he had invested in the film entertainment cultural base had not been fully recovered, but he could get a loan. He just wanted to find out the price of that piece of land. When Hue Yi saw the area Fang Zhao had marked out, he was momentarily flabbergasted before smacking his head. I almost forgot. The map hasn't been updated. Don't even think about that piece of land. Someone has already bought it. I was so busy that I forgot to update the map. In a bit, I will get someone to update the map and let everyone know that the area has been marked by a buyer. Wait a moment, I will send you the latest version. Receiving the latest map from Hue Yi, Fang Zhao looked at the circled area and was even more astonished. Not only was the plot of land he had originally wanted to buy in the marked area, but the surrounding area was also circled. It was 3 times the size of the land circled by everyone at the film studio complex. Such a large piece of land has been bought. Who? Fang Zhao was curious. Logically speaking, that piece of land should not have been noticed. Nowadays, investors on Planet Y were looking for places with better scenery and a more pleasant climate. Who would actually notice that area? When Hue Yi heard Fang Zhao's question, he was silent for a moment before replying. The Interplanetary Fund. Only a giant like the Interplanetary Fund had the ability to enclose such a large piece of land at a time when Planet Y's land prices were rising. Are they going to build a city? Fang Zhao asked. I don't know why they bought that piece of land, but it definitely isn't to build a city. We've already signed a confidentiality agreement with them, so we won't ask about what they'll do there in the future. But what we can be sure of is that there are no immigration plans. Hue Yi scanned the map and felt puzzled. There were so many good places on Planet Y. Regardless of whether it was for commercial use or to build a residence, there were many better options. Why did everyone value that piece of land? The Interplanetary Fund was also acting mysteriously, as though they didn't want more people to know about this news. Engineering teams had already started constructing walls to block everyone's line of sight. If it was anyone else, Hue Yi would have already slapped them. Putting on airs with me? Is there any place on Planet Y that I can't control? However, the buyer was the Interplanetary Fund, so Hue Yi was terrified. He had relied on the Interplanetary Fund to climb to his current position, so he naturally couldn't turn his back on them now. In any case, the Interplanetary Fund had said that their position on Planet Y would not be shaken and that they would not do anything to harm Planet Y, so Hue Yi did not probe further. Don't even think about that. Why don't we go somewhere else? Hue Yi said. Is this area for sale? Fang Zhao pointed to a body of water near the polar regions. Polar waters? I can sell it, but what do you want this place for? Hue Yi asked. I'm helping someone ask. Fang Zhao sent Hue Yi a document regarding krill farming. Planet Y no longer allows farming in the polar regions, so he can only look for another place. The water environment on Planet Y is similar to Planet Y, so he wants to buy a body of water there to raise krill. Hue Yi glanced at the document and noticed that it mentioned that the objective was to improve nutritional supplements. This made Huiyi's heart waver. That company manufactured nutritional supplements, and this base also needed them. However, Huiyi did not agree immediately. Instead, he said, the vetting for farming is more stringent. The information is complete. Let me take a look first. If there are no problems, we can sell it. Fang Zhao sent all the vetting materials to Huiyi. Huiyi also found a specialist to appraise it and confirm that it would not have any serious impact on planet-wise polar waters before sending a message back to Fang Zhao. With Fang Zhao's help, Denzel finally negotiated a contract with Planet Y base for the water body. However, Huiyi did not personally appear again. He left it to his subordinates in charge of this aspect to handle the negotiations. 2 days later, Fang Zhao received a message from Denzel. The Y polar waters that he had his eyes on had already been purchased. After this, Denzel would bring a batch of company employees to Planet Y to raise krill. Denzel would also produce some special feed for Fang Zhao's hybrid sea slug. Fang Zhao could get someone to help him collect it. On this day, Du and Qianji arrived at Outpost 23. Because Hong Lu was stationed in Baiji Military District, Du and Qianji, as a soldier's family member, could also stay in the family district. However, Du and Qianji was rather busy and frequently flew between Planet Y, and Planet Baiji. Every time Du and Qianji came over, she would bring some daily necessities and higher quality food for Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao did not eat alone and would share it with the outpost team. Although they could communicate at the base through communications devices, Du and Qianji would personally come to the outpost every time. Fang Zhao had helped Hong Lu before, and it was Fang Zhao who had pulled them over to the Y Film Studio complex. It could be said that Fang Zhao's contributions could not go unnoticed now that Silver Wing was a step ahead of other Yangzhou companies in entering the global film industry. It was only right that Du and Qianji came personally. Du and Qianji discussed with Fang Zhao about the newly constructed houses and streets at the film studio complex. Du and Qianji attached great importance to Fang Zhao's design plans and suggestions and noted them down one by one. She also noted down details that had not been noticed in the previous series after Fang Zhao brought them up so that these mistakes could be avoided in the new series. Du and Qianji would not stay at the outpost for long. After their discussion, she prepared to leave. Before leaving, she asked Fang Zhao, "Are there any other questions?" "Yes." Under Du and Qianji's puzzled gaze, Fang Zhao asked, "That revolutionary film project that has been shelved, is it going to be restarted?" There were only a few film projects that could be considered revolutionary in the entire world, and there was only one that had been shelved all this time. Back when Fang Zhao had first joined the Virtual Projects Department, he had heard from Rodney, Song Miao, and the others that there was a film project that involved many important figures from the period of destruction. It had been proposed a long time ago, but it had been shelved. It was a revolutionary film project that truly involved the film circles of all 12 continents and all the big families in the world. Du and Qianji's expression changed when she heard this. The smile on her face disappeared and was replaced with a grave expression. "What news have you heard?" "To tell you the truth, I have indeed received news a long time ago. I heard that this revolutionary film project might be restarted in the next few years, but I don't know anything else. A few days ago, I had my eye on a piece of land on Planet Y. It is very suitable for filming scenes from the period of destruction. I had originally intended to buy a piece of land there and turn it into a period of destruction cultural park or something. You all know that I am very interested in things from the period of destruction. But I never expected that someone would already buy it." "Who?" Fang Zhao pulled out a map and pointed at the marked piece of land that was much larger than the film studio complex. "The Interplanetary Fund. They bought this entire piece of land. According to past practice, the Interplanetary Fund would very likely invest in such a revolutionary film project." Fang Zhao had asked Huiyi and a few other researchers he knew on Planet Y about the piece of land that the Interplanetary Fund had circled out. There were no valuable minerals there, and in terms of research value, it could not compare to other places. The possibility of doing research there was rather small. And Planet Y had two major specialties. One was the ARC project to revive the plants in the seed bank, and the other was film culture. Since the former was unlikely, what about the latter? That was why Fang Zhao had guessed that someone wanted to turn that area into a period of destruction setting and use it for other purposes, such as filming. Fang Zhao had asked Duan Chenji this question to ascertain whether things were as he had guessed. Duan Chenji did not doubt what Fang Zhao had said. After a moment of silence, she nodded her head. If that place is really suitable for filming films and dramas set during the period of destruction, then the possibility of it happening is very high. That revolutionary film project might very well be restarted. Many people had their eyes on that revolutionary film project. As soon as she had heard that it might be restarted in the next few years, Duan Chenji had made plans in advance. This was also the reason why she had been anxious to produce a few eye-catching films and dramas and promote her own company's stars to the entire world. Choosing a historical drama was a form of strategy. Regardless of the genre of the film, as long as it could make a name for itself, that would be enough. If one film wasn't enough, then 2 or 3. For that kind of revolutionary film project, let alone A-list movie stars, even S-list superstars might not be able to secure a satisfactory role. As for other people, if they did not have enough fame or ability, they would not even be able to secure an important supporting role. Duan Chenji left in a hurry. She wanted to go to Planet Y to scout out the situation. Fang Zhao browsed through the entertainment news of every continent. After careful observation, he realized that the global battle for the film industry had escalated. Now, film companies from every continent were throwing out large-scale productions one after another to fight for attention and popularity. Most likely, they were like Duan Chenji. When they got the news, they were busy pushing their own company's celebrities to the top and getting more attention. When the time came to fight for that revolutionary film project, they would be more competitive. But many people had not expected that the Y film entertainment base would appear out of nowhere this year, causing historical dramas to become a hot topic. This time, a few Silver Wing stars had successfully increased their global popularity. Fang Zhao opened his notebook and flipped to the last page. His plan was written on it. He picked up a pen and filled in a line. Who had stipulated that only famous actors could compete for that revolutionary film project. After Duan Chenji left the outpost, she changed her itinerary. She had originally intended to return to Earth, but now she decided to head to Planet Y to scout out the situation. After that, Duan Chenji gathered a few of the company's A-list and superstar actors and managers for a small meeting. As a second-tier actor, Ji Polan did not have the qualifications to be called over. After finishing Beauties, he had successfully squeezed into the cast of Warring States. Ji Polan had originally been rather satisfied. Although that role felt a little girly, it was still an important supporting role, right? He had already played a eunuch, so why would he be afraid? He had yet to snatch this role. However, Ji Polan realized that after those big names had been called over for the small meeting, their attitude had completely changed. It was not that they had not acted well in the past, but the current state of this group of people was like they had been injected with chicken blood. Previously, Ji Polan had heard a few A-list actors complain that filming was too tight, that they were especially tired and homesick, and that they would go back and rest after filming. But now, even when they were very tired outside of filming, this group of people still seemed to have a burning passion in their eyes. Ji Polan had not heard them mention the words "go back and rest." Intuition told Ji Polan that he could not relax. A-list and superstar actors who were better than him were already so hardworking. How could a second-tier actor like him have the nerve to slack off? Furthermore, watching this group of people compete with each other also made Ji Polan's blood boil. What a great learning opportunity. The changes in the cast of Warring States did not attract too much attention. Now that there were more film crews shooting at the film studio, it was bustling, and the people who owned hotels in the area were making a killing. Because there were more people, identities were complicated, and it gave some people an opportunity to take advantage of. Wang Tai had made full use of his advantage in disguise and his ability to speak in a human language and speak in a ghost language to successfully infiltrate the film studio. However, just as he was planning to sneak into the palace, he saw the stone tablet erected in front of the palace gates. He glanced at Fang Zhao's name, and before he could think further, his guts trembled. After asking around, he felt that the person on the stone tablet was very likely the one he was most afraid of. After careful consideration, Wang Tai decided not to go to Silver Wing's film studio as often as possible. Instead, he went to other film studios nearby to take a look. Every day, before starting work, he would go online to see if Channel S5 was broadcasting live and if Fang Zhao was on the broadcast. Only after confirming that Fang Zhao was still on planet Baiji could he work in peace. On Channel S4, today's live broadcast was Wu Tianhao teaching martial arts. The apprentices were a bunch of tiger-eared monkeys. These animals would not easily hurt people because they were not aggressive. Wu Tianhao's uncle had said that the mountain needed some living creatures for it to feel more alive. Wu Tianhao didn't need to film on this mountain, so he could let some animals in. Wu Tianhao did as he was told, and the keepers were happy to see this happen. The next day, a group of tiger-eared monkeys was sent over. At first, these tiger-eared monkeys were very vigilant and kept a distance from humans, but gradually, they realized that they could get more delicious food by staying close to humans. They did not have to worry about food or drink, and the food was much better than the food given by the keepers. Now, they could not be chased away. One day, when Wu Tianhao was practicing martial arts, a tiger-eared monkey imitated Wu Tianhao's movements. Wu Tianhao thought it was interesting and did not chase it away. Who knew that after 2 days, a group of tiger-eared monkeys would appear in his dojo? Wu Tianhao would never have dreamed that his first batch of apprentices would be a bunch of extraterrestrial monkeys. After the live broadcast ended, Wu Tianhao received a call from his uncle. "What? Trying to trick me into acting again?" Wu Tianhao was about to decline when he heard his uncle wanted him to act in a new TV series, but his uncle's next words made Wu Tianhao pause. Wu Tianhao's face lit up with excitement as he asked, "That project, are you sure it will be restarted?" "There is an 80% chance it will be restarted. Filming will probably start next year, the year after next. How about it? Do you want to fight for it?" "Nonsense. Of course I do. On another mountain." Chapter 249. Netizens did not know about the competition between major film companies and private studios. Amidst all sorts of exciting gossip and movies, a new batch of military service applications was coming. Military service applications were issued twice a year, once in April and once in October. Generally speaking, there were more applicants in April than in October, probably because Memorial Day was closer. Many people felt that it was already the end of the year and would choose to spend Memorial Day with their families, discuss with them, prepare well, and then apply for the April batch. But this year, it was the opposite. The number of applicants for the October batch had exploded, increasing by 291%. This was official data. Actually, even without looking at these statistics, people could feel that the number of applicants this October was much higher than last October, especially on university campuses. Many people who had not yet served had decided to apply. Project Starlight was a success. It had spurred the enthusiasm of young people to serve and attracted even more attention. To maximize the enthusiasm of young people, the military had allowed the 5 planets of Project Starlight to accept conscripts on their own. In other words, those who wanted to serve on these 5 planets could apply first. Those who applied could go directly, while those who did not would be randomly assigned by the system. Young idols naturally preferred to serve on the planet their idols were on. In the first phase of Project Starlight, the situation on channels S1, S2, and S3 was similar. There was an increase from previous years, but it was not an exaggeration. What was exaggerated were the planets that channels S4 and S5 were on, which were Planet Y and Planet Baiji. Planet Baiji's position on the development sequence had changed, leading to more people wanting to go to Planet Baiji. Who knows, it might even be helpful to their future careers. Planet Y had received about the same number of applications as Planet Baiji because of the film entertainment cultural base. Most conscripts were young people in their early 20s, mostly university students. There were many idol chasers, and the Y film entertainment cultural base attracted them greatly, especially when they saw the entertainment news online. going to the film entertainment cultural base to have a meal at a random restaurant, and they would be able to meet a few big stars. Young people were envious. However, the number of applicants was limited. Even though Planet Baiji and Y had increased the quota, the number of applicants still far exceeded their expectations. Therefore, they could only rely on the system's automatic screening to determine the final quota. In other words, this time, Planet Y and Baiji's standards for accepting military personnel had been raised. Those with serious blemishes on their records, reputation issues, or serious mental illnesses would all be screened out. Especially for Planet Baiji, they would also look at the applicant's physical fitness training results and school sports results. Those with high physical fitness would be given priority. After screening, the system would send the results to the applicants. Those who received the acceptance notice from Baiji Military District were the same as Fang Zhao. They went to the designated hospitals of their respective continents for a medical examination and then entered their respective military districts to undergo pre-service military training. A month later, they were all sent to Planet Baiji. On the transport ship bound for Planet Baiji, the young enlistees had mixed feelings of apprehension and excitement. When they could not fall asleep, they gathered together to chat. "Hello, we'll be comrades in arms from now on. Brother, what's your specialization?" "Clinical medicine. I majored in veterinary medicine." "Ha ha ha, we are in the same field. It's still different." "Hey, bro, what about you? What's your major?" "Me? I'm in communications engineering." In the military, if there were no special circumstances, it usually took time for one to rise up. However, Planet Baiji was currently in the initial stages of development. Under these special circumstances, it was the best time to earn military merits. Those who wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to advance had their sights set on Planet Baiji. Planet Baiji gave talents from various specialties a chance to strive for a bright future. However, when these young enlistees finally arrived on Planet Baiji, what greeted them was a bug feast. Planet Baiji's commanding officer had said that the bug feast was a tradition on Planet Baiji. No matter how Planet Baiji developed in the future, this tradition had to be maintained. Every person who came to Planet Baiji had to remember the tough lives that people had led when they first came here. We have to remember the bitterness and taste the sweetness. However, although it was still a bug feast, the bug feast that the new recruits ate was better than what they had eaten in the past. At least it was not like in the past when the bugs were half-cooked. Even so, the new recruits were tormented by this bug feast. Close to 60% of them were still pale when they woke up the next day. Clearly, they had not shaken off the bug feast. Some people even started to regret. If they had known earlier, they would have chosen Planet Y. Eating grains on Planet Y was much better than eating bugs here. But very quickly, a pep rally roused the spirits of these people who had thought of withdrawing. The pep rally was organized by the Baiji Military District to commend outstanding enlistees and set an example for this bunch of brats who had just arrived. Fang Zhao was naturally one of them. Those who had come in the same batch as Fang Zhao had already served here for half a year. Previously, when some of them had seen Fang Zhao get promoted, they had started to show their enthusiasm. Various military districts had sprung up with some exemplary examples. There were also talents from various specialties who had performed outstandingly and had achieved many merits. Although they might not necessarily have received third-class military merits, they had contributed a lot. This time, the military district had made an exception and promoted these people to be commended at this pep rally. Fang Zhao had previously been a second lieutenant. This time, he had been promoted to first lieutenant. For the past half a year, he had followed the outpost team on missions every day and had achieved many merits. Everyone had seen his performance. Many times he had entered dangerous situations to rescue people. Viewers watching the live broadcast could not raise any objections. There were also some old officers at the base who sighed in private. This person, whether it was his mental fortitude or his personal ability, he was special. If Fang Zhao had continued to develop in the military, he would have risen even higher. Many people in the military family district had chatted with great-grandfather Fang about how it was a pity that Fang Zhao did not join the military. Great-grandfather Fang naturally defended his grandson in front of others, but in private, he also felt that it was a pity. However, this was Fang Zhao's own choice. As long as Fang Zhao was happy, it was fine. Furthermore, great-grandfather Fang and great-grandmother Fang were not at ease with Fang Zhao's dedication when he carried out his missions. Watching videos of Fang Zhao carrying out his missions, many of them had seen outpost team members fall into dangerous situations. These people were all on tenterhooks. Every time they watched the video, great-grandfather Fang would get angry. "You are just a temporary enlistee. Why do you have to put your life on the line? Other people's military service was just for show. Why do you have to be so serious? Can't you be more astute and avoid it?" Today, after the mobilization meeting, Fang Zhao was having dinner in the military family district. Great-grandfather Fang could not help but start lecturing him. Veteran soldiers will naturally go to dangerous places. You new recruits are still too inexperienced. The next time you encounter that kind of danger, just stay away, got it? If this had happened in the past, great-grandfather Fang would have scoffed when he heard someone say this. He despised people who spoiled their children the most. However, when it came to himself, great-grandfather Fang's heart softened. Although he had been nagging, after Fang Zhao left after dinner, great-grandfather Fang could not help but be amused. He watched the video of the commendation of the paysetter at the mobilization meeting over and over again. Elsewhere, Fang Zhao had left the base and headed to the outpost. Because of the mobilization meeting, Fang Zhao had the day off. He did not go on missions with the outpost team during the day. After arriving at the outpost, he went back to his dormitory and immersed himself in composing. Kevin Lin was in awe of Fang Zhao. In the day, Fang Zhao was a tireless, iron-blooded warrior. At night, he became a harmless artistic youth and continued composing. If it had been Kevin Lin, he would never have been able to do it. Right now, Fang Zhao was composing a piece of background music for a scene in warring states. Prior to this, Fang Zhao had already composed background music for many scenes in beauties and warring states. In the future, these would also be included in the original soundtracks for the movies and series and posted online. As he was writing, someone came to visit. The visitor seemed to be about the same age as Fang Zhao, but he had the courtesy and arrogance of an elite. He seemed polite, but deep down, he was still arrogant. "My name is Joseph, the contact person for the Interplanetary Funds film project team. This is my name card. You can verify my identity." The other party wore a fitting smile and handed over a metallic name card with the Interplanetary Funds insignia. Fang Zhao did not need to verify it himself. Someone from the outpost team had already sent him Joseph's detailed information. The outpost team captain, Bi Liao, had sent it to him. Before Joseph entered the outpost, he would definitely have to verify his identity, and the verification would be even more stringent. Thus, Fang Zhao did not need to verify it himself. The message he received contained Joseph's detailed information. There was no mistaking his identity. He was indeed someone from the Interplanetary Fund and was indeed an elite. He had a PhD in economics and management from a famous Huangju University. He had obtained professional certifications in finance, medicine, architecture, and the arts. It could be said that he knew everything in the world. When he was with the outpost team, he could chat about the entertainment industry and the direction of political change. Bi Liao even lamented to Fang Zhao at the end of the message. "This Interplanetary Fund contact person is actually a top student. Excuse me, are you busy, Mr. Fang? I'm not in a hurry. It won't be too late to talk after you are done," Joseph said. Fang Zhao did not decline. He pointed to the sofa. "You can sit over there. Pour whatever you want. No need to stand on ceremony." The facilities here were simple and crude, and there were not many rules. Furthermore, Fang Zhao had just had some inspiration, so he did not want to stop midway. Joseph pointed to the floor-to-ceiling bookshelf at the side. "Excuse me, can I take a look at these books?" These were all electronic books that Fang Zhao had bought online after moving to his new dormitory. Then, he had gotten someone in charge of printing at the base to help him print them out. He still preferred to use paper books, and he would bring one with him during the day so that he could read them in between missions. When electronic equipment was unavailable, reading paper books was very convenient. Most of them were related to music, film, history, and architecture. "Feel free," Fang Zhao replied. "Thank you." Joseph thanked Fang Zhao and walked over to the bookshelf. The words and icons on the spines of the books indicated that they had been printed on planet Baiji. Even the dates of printing were marked. Joseph pulled out a rather thick book on history and flipped open a page. He could not understand it. He did not really want to read the contents of the book. He actually wanted to read the notes and annotations Fang Zhao had made in the book. He wanted to understand Fang Zhao from these notes. There were indeed many annotations on the book. There were even a few pages filled with words, but he could not understand the words. He flipped another page. Still could not understand. The polite smile on Joseph's face had completely frozen. He actually could not understand a single word of the annotations in this book. Minor language? Unlikely. Shorthand? That was possible. Looking at the writing style, it was probably shorthand. But why would shorthand be used to make annotations in the book? Lunatic. Joseph did not believe it. These books had all been printed within 3 months. There were close to 100 books on the bookshelf, and some of them were rather thick. It was impossible to read all of them, and it was also impossible for all of them to be labeled in the same way, right? 10 minutes later. Chapter 250. Joseph sat there in silence. The arrogance in his heart had receded significantly. Actually, it wasn't the shorthand handwriting that had given him a blow. Although looking at the shorthand that he didn't understand at all had indeed made him feel defeated, the bigger blow was the book. In 3 months, he had actually finished reading nearly 100 books. He still had the ability to judge whether it was a hoax or not. Even if he couldn't understand the notes, he could tell that the person who had made the notes and markings hadn't just casually flipped through the books. Instead, they had been very serious. The underlined paragraphs and the notes and remarks in the blank spaces indicated that every single book had been read and memorized seriously. What kind of speed was this? Of course, reading quickly didn't mean anything. The main thing was how capable Fang Zhao was as a person. Thinking back on all the information he had gathered on Fang Zhao, Joseph felt that it was better for him to remain silent. Sitting there and staring at people was impolite behavior, and Joseph couldn't keep staring at Fang Zhao and studying him. Thus, he stared at the bookshelf. He had wanted to ponder some questions, but as he pondered, he fell into a daze. Only when he heard the sound of the book closing did Joseph return to his senses. He once again put on a polite smile. Fang Zhao placed the notebook in the drawer and glanced at Joseph. "Sorry to keep you waiting." No. I was the one who disturbed you." This time, Joseph was much more humble than he had been at the start. No matter what, Fang Zhao was still a person worthy of admiration. Joseph noticed that Fang Zhao didn't seem to be in a rush, so he didn't get straight to the point. Instead, he took out the thickest history book from the bookshelf. "I have a question for Mr. Fang. Are the notes written here shorthand?" "Yes." Fang Zhao joked. "This is shorthand that I invented myself, Fang's wild cursive, one-stroke book. Actually, it couldn't be considered cursive, but it had gradually evolved from cursive. Some of the more complicated words would be replaced with other symbols, which was how Fang Zhao had adapted his shorthand method. Basically, he could write a sentence in one stroke. When it came to note-taking, it was fine as long as one could recognize the words. Only writing for oneself would be done in such a manner. Only writing for others would be in a language that everyone could recognize. Just like when Fang Zhao was composing, he would use his own notation for his manuscripts. Only when he showed it to others would it be converted to the current common notation. During the period of destruction, Fang Zhao had frequently used this sort of shorthand method when writing down strategic analysis and personal notes. When he no longer needed it, Fang Zhao would promptly destroy it. At that time, he had to be cautious. Not only did he have to guard against external enemies, he also had to guard against petty people. Because of this, the so-called notes of great people in the New Era Memorial Hall were actually not personal items. They were all for others to see and had no secrets. Naturally, they were not written in Fang's wild cursive. But now, there was no need to destroy what he had written. There were no strategic secrets that concerned the survival of the team that needed to be kept. It was just that this habit had been preserved. When Fang Zhao went on a mission, he had less free time. This kind of shorthand method saved time and trouble. Moreover, perhaps due to the change in his physique, Fang Zhu was now reading faster and faster. His mind was also thinking faster. In order to save as much time as possible to write down the ideas in his mind, regardless of whether it was combat mode or non-combat mode, using this one-stroke method was the most suitable. Shorthand notebooks from the period of destruction had all been destroyed, so Fang Zhao wasn't afraid of being discovered. I see. Sure enough, it was shorthand. Have you read all of these? Joseph asked in a seemingly casual manner. Yes, I'm almost done with these, Fang Zhao replied. Actually, there were still about 10 books. The bookshelves had been too full yesterday, so he had moved them elsewhere to make room for the newly printed books. But Fang Zhao didn't need to say all this. I didn't expect Mr. Fang to read so many books during your military service, Joseph lamented. I finally understand why you are so knowledgeable despite your composing background. Fang Zhao had originally wanted to reply with "One is never too old to learn," but he swallowed it right before the words left his mouth. Now was not the right time. Seeing that Fang Zhao did not get complacent because of this matter and did not have any other superfluous emotions, Joseph didn't bring it up again. With a straight face, he told Fang Zhao the purpose of today's visit. I wonder if Mr. Fang knows about the revolutionary film project set during the period of destruction that is about to be relaunched? Joseph asked. I've heard. Fang Zhao nodded. Although it has not been officially announced, a few entertainment companies from various continents have received news of the relaunch. This matter of relaunching is indeed a fact. Our interplanetary fund, as one of the investors and producers, has nomination rights. Joseph observed Fang Zhao imperceptibly. He did not see any trace of urgency, fervor, or excitement on Fang Zhao's face. Fang Zhao was still the same as before, maintaining his attentive posture. Mr. Fang, you have signed with Silver Wing Media. As a member of the consultant team for Beauties and Warring States, you should know that the consultant team is indispensable for historical dramas. We have also seen the 2 historical dramas produced by Silver Wing. The quality is indeed top-notch, and the strength of the consultant team is very strong. Today, I am representing our interplanetary fund to extend an invitation to Mr. Fang. We hope that you can become a member of the consultant team for the revolutionary film project that is about to be relaunched. Before Joseph had received this assignment, he had actually not understood why the higher-ups had chosen Fang Zhao. As a member of the film project team, Joseph naturally knew what the revolutionary film project was about. Although this project had been proposed a long time ago, it had not been able to be shot. That was because the various parties that were paying for the production had been quarreling. Just like the Interplanetary Fund, there were more than 10 investors and producers. They were all reputable families from various continents, and they had been quarreling all the way until now. In terms of actors, you couldn't stand me, and I couldn't stand you. The script was also quarreling. Some said it was fictitious and slanderous, while others said it was too exaggerated and easy to attract criticism. The script had also been revised over the years. Now, the Interplanetary Fund had increased its investment in this project, contacted other investors, and decided to restart this project. The first thing to do was to assemble the consultant team. As a revolutionary film project, the consultant team was naturally very large. It could be said that the number and capability of the consultant team this time was something that previous film and television dramas could not compare to. Perhaps for many years to come, there would not be a comparable consultant team for a historical drama. Every investor had their own approved consultant, and the Interplanetary Fund had also nominated many industry experts and professors who studied the history of the period of destruction. When the highly viewed historical drama Beauties and the currently popular Warring States finished airing, many people would not pay attention to the densely packed subtitles at the end of the film, but the people from the Interplanetary Fund's film project team would pay attention to them. For many historical dramas, the so-called historical consultants were only in name. They were forcefully roped in to hold up the facade. After a meal and a few words, they would be dismissed. Their usefulness was close to zero. Perhaps those nominal consultants had not even seen the script, which was why there were so many dramas with loose settings. To those nominal consultants, it was a loss of reputation. However, many historical consultants did not care about their reputation. They cared more about how much money they could get. As long as they got paid, it was fine. If the director did not need them, they would be happy to relax. However, the quality of the already aired Beauties and the currently popular Warring States could be seen the moment these two dramas were released. The masses were not blind. The viewership and popularity of these two dramas were proof. That was why the Interplanetary Fund attached importance to the consultant team at the end of the film. Fang Zhao had his eyes on this revolutionary film project. Naturally, he would not reject an invitation. Fang Zhao discussed the terms of the contract with Joseph and signed a confidentiality agreement. What needed to be kept secret was not the matter of signing the consultant team, but the contents of the script that he would receive. The script had not been completely finalized and needed the consultant team to take a look. Probably only after the script was finalized would the matter of the reboot be announced. After signing the contract, Fang Zhao asked, "Who are the members of the consultant team that have been invited?" Since the contract had already been signed and everyone was in a cooperative relationship, Joseph did not need to keep it a secret. He showed Fang Zhao the list of people who had been included in the consultant team. These are the ones that have already been confirmed. Right now, there might be some like you who are newly invited and have yet to be registered. The list is incomplete. Even though the list was incomplete, Fang Zhao could tell what a revolutionary film project's consultant team was with a single glance. Such a formidable lineup was something that previous dramas could not compare to. The chief historical consultant was the dean of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. He was a highly respected cultural researcher. Behind him were members of the Institute of Archaeology and History, as well as literature award winners. They were all well-known scholars and artists. How did Fang Zhao know about them? A third of the history-related books on the bookshelf were written by these people. Just by looking at these names, one could tell that this was definitely a high-quality drama. If the list of consultants for this rebooted revolutionary film project was released, this lineup would make the entire film industry tremble. Looking at these names, it was reasonable to say that someone like Fang Zhao, who did not specialize in history, would not be invited. In terms of consultants, given Fang Zhao's current status, he was far from comparable to those who had already made a name for themselves. But Fang Zhao's actual combat experience was strong. He was a member of the consultant team for Beauties and Warring States, a member of Silver Wing's regional architectural design team, and a member of Fiery Bird's Battle of the Century consultant team. These were all real examples that could not be faked. More importantly, Fiery Bird's Battle of the Century was set during the real period of destruction. Fang Zhao had given many pertinent suggestions. For investors, Fang Zhao's resume was no less valuable than some literary awards. And it was precisely because of this that the Interplanetary Fund had sent Joseph over to extend an invitation to Fang Zhao. Perhaps even Duan Qianji herself had not expected that, after two meticulously produced historical dramas, before the actors had even registered with the investors, the historical consultant had already been targeted. Since the mission had been completed, Joseph did not stay at the outpost for long and planned to take his leave. "Please wait a moment," Fang Zhao called out to Joseph, who had gotten up to leave. "Mr. Fang, do you still have any questions?" Joseph was puzzled. "Has the casting been confirmed?" Fang Zhao asked. "Not yet. We have to wait for the script to be finalized before we can settle the casting issue. Joseph thought that Fang Zhao was asking around on behalf of Silver Wing, so he did not find it strange. For this drama, important supporting roles and leads all need to be acknowledged by many parties before being voted on. This will depend on how the various companies operate. I don't know much about these things, but there is one thing I can be sure of: those who are not well known have no chance. The reputation Joseph was referring to was not just the reputation of a particular continent but on a global scale. Many thanks, Fang Zhao said. You're welcome. Joseph seemed to recall something and turned to Fang Zhao. Mr. Fang is very talented in composing. I have also listened to the background music for the 2 Silver Wing dramas. They are very good. I look forward to hearing more of Mr. Fang's compositions in the upcoming dramas. With that, Joseph gave a courteous smile and left. What he meant was to tell Fang Zhao, get your company to help run the show, hype it up, and expand your reputation. Who knows, you might catch the eye of the Interplanetary Fund. After all, no matter how great a film project was, it still required background music. Fang Zhao definitely would not get the opening and closing credits. Fang Zhao was not qualified yet, but the short background music was a chance for Fang Zhao. Of course, Fang Zhao understood what Joseph meant, but he had his own plans and would not follow Joseph's suggestion. Still, he was grateful for Joseph's kind reminder. After Joseph left, Fang Zhao looked at the invitation on the table. After scanning it with his personal terminal, he would receive permission to enter a discussion group for the consultant team. It was easy to manage. When Fang Zhao entered, he received an electronic file. It had nothing to do with the script, but it was a reminder for new consultants to take note of and help them adjust their mental state. Consultants, you can't just care and not ask. You can't just care and not ask. Film dramas were not historical documentaries. Naturally, they had their artistic aspects. This was to remind some insensible consultants where to start and from which angle to consider problems. First and foremost, historical dramas were dramas, not history. They were presented in the form of audiovisual art. They drew inspiration from life but were above life. As a form of audiovisual art, the investment was huge. Naturally, it had to be able to resonate with the audience. That way, there would be greater returns. But besides being artistic, there could not be a lack of authenticity in certain key areas. After reading through the file, Fang Zhao had a rough idea. Now that he had been invited, he just had to report his arrival. When the time came, the contents of the script would be distributed. Just as he was thinking about what the script would talk about, Fang Zhao received a call from Xue Jing. Music artist Xue Jing, who had just finished his global lecture tour, had also seen the video of Baiji Military District's mobilization ceremony and seen the commendation portion. However, Old Master Xue was concerned and worried that Fang Zhao would take the wrong path. What if Fang Zhao decided to stay in the military and develop? Xue Jing still hoped that Fang Zhao would have higher aspirations in the art of music. He hoped that Fang Zhao would be able to walk even further on this path and gain the approval of more people, especially those especially picky academics. If Fang Zhao did not move up, those academics would continue to judge Fang Zhao as a low-end person. I go out on missions during the day. When I return to the outpost, I will compose. Right now, I am composing a piece of background music for warring states. Fang Zhao explained his daily routine. When Xue Jing heard this, the worry on his face lessened and his smile deepened. That's good. The ancient-style background music in Beauties and Warring States is also very good. I have seen your work. Keep it up. Given your current ability, when your military service is over, you can plan your solo performance. That's what I was thinking too. Xue Jing was very happy with Fang Zhao's reply. After chatting a little more about music-related issues and repeatedly reminding Fang Zhao to pay attention to his safety while out on missions, he ended the call. After ending the call with Xue Jing, Fang Zhao pondered for a bit before dialing a number. Yangzhou Military General Hospital. Yang Biao was in the middle of a follow-up examination. He had already been fitted with prosthetics, and they were the especially expensive ones. He was very satisfied with their flexibility and practicality. His retirement pay and bonuses had all been spent on them. If not for the fact that he was a retired soldier with military merits and enjoyed exceptional treatment and discounts, he would never have been able to afford these prosthetics with his retirement pay. Yang Biao was very surprised when he received Fang Zhao's call. He had been in contact with Fang Zhao all this time, but it had all been through text messages. After nearly half a year of treatment and rehabilitation, his body had already recovered. Perhaps it was because he was looking forward to the future and had a good attitude. Coupled with the continuous innovation of medical technology, his body had recovered earlier than he had expected. When he had sent Fang Zhao a message last week, Fang Zhao had informed him that he had already been discharged from the hospital, that his body had been adjusted to peak condition, and that he could return to duty at any time. Today, he had only come to the hospital for a follow-up examination. The results were also very good. After going through Yang Biao's follow-up results and ascertaining that there were no problems, Fang Zhao said, "Prepare to start work." Yang Biao jolted, his eyes shining with anticipation. "I have been waiting for this day for a long time." After carefully listening to Fang Zhao's instructions and ending the call, Yang Biao stood at the entrance of the hospital, gazing at the sky and taking a deep breath. It was time for him to work. But before that, Yang Biao lifted his trouser leg and looked at his metallic grey mechanical calf, somewhat hesitant. Chapter 251. Gold and silver were too ostentatious. Furthermore, 3 out of every 10 people in the rehabilitation center had their prosthetics painted gold and 2 silver. Skin color? Yang Biao thought about it and shook his head. That was too pretentious. He already had prosthetics. Why would he need skin color? As for the color of his mechanical calf, Yang Biao had carefully considered it and asked many people for their opinions. After much deliberation, he still chose titanium white as suggested by the doctor. Most doctors had suggested titanium white. First, due to their profession, they had a preference for white. Second, titanium white looked more harmonious and harmless. It was also the default color for most AI home robots. For people of the new era, this was the most familiar color. It did not seem threatening or distant. Titanium white was nicknamed Never Tanned. Nonsense, it would be strange if it was tanned. During his rehabilitation at the hospital, Yang Biao's daily training was close to the limit set by the doctors so that he could enter the battlefield as soon as his legs were healed. His training load was quite high. Because of the long daily training, Yang Biao saw that there were too many people in the indoor training area and was not used to the cramped indoor space. As long as it was not raining, he trained outdoors under the sun. Yang Biao was like his name. He looked rather intrepid. Back on planet Baiji, he often went on missions in the woods and had a rather tan. Now that he was tanned every day, he looked even darker. He looked like a bull. Usually, he only wore a pair of cropped pants during training. It was convenient for him to move around and for the doctors to observe the use of the prosthesis. Today, he wore trousers, but after he painted his calves titanium white, he changed them to cropped pants. To match the color of his calves, which were painted titanium white, Yang Biao specially bought a pair of white sneakers. The rest of his body was tanned. Below his calves, it was a dazzling white. The contrast was rather strong. What, playing snowy clouds? Zhuo Yu almost burst out laughing when he saw Yang Biao's appearance. Fang Zhao had told Zhuo Yu about this long before he had signed the contract with Yang Biao. While Yang Biao had been hospitalized, Zhuo Yu had visited a few times. After all, he had nothing to do and was bored every day. He had come to the hospital to listen to Yang Biao brag and hear about Planet Baiji. Although they competed, they were both Fang Zhao's bodyguards. They would be comrades in the future, and they got along quite well. Zhuo Yu glanced at Yang Biao's titanium white mechanical leg and clicked his tongue. This color looks rather coquettish. That being said, compared to the blinding gold and silver, all kinds of weird non-mainstream colors, and the artistic flowers with dizzying effects, the titanium white was still passable. Yang Biao smiled and kicked his legs, feeling good about himself. In the past, when he was in the army, he was used to all kinds of colors that helped him hide. Now that he had retired, he didn't need to hide anymore. It felt good to change colors, but he didn't keep talking about it. Instead, he asked, "Have you received the message from the boss?" "Got it." Zhuo Yu had contacted Yang Biao after receiving Fang Zhao's message, but Yang Biao had been in the middle of coloring his mechanical calf and hadn't had the time to talk in detail. Zhuo Yu had asked for the location and had come straight over. "The next flight to Planet Y is in a week. The tickets have already been booked," Zhuo Yu said. "You actually managed to book a ticket?" Yang Biao was flabbergasted. Not long after he had ended the call with Fang Zhao, he had checked online for tickets to Planet Y. Regardless of whether it was a transport ship or a dedicated spacecraft, regardless of the conditions, as long as he could get a ticket, it was fine. Unfortunately, when he checked, all the tickets for the past month had already been sold out. Ever since the establishment of the Y Film Entertainment Cultural Base, there had been an increase in the number of people heading to Planet Y. Most of them were film crews. Even though the screening was very strict, there were still quite a number of people heading to Planet Y. Many people had used their connections to join the film crews as bystanders so that they could visit the legendary twin bases on Planet Y with the identity of a film crew member, the Key Research Base Scenic Area and the Film Entertainment Cultural Base Scenic Area. But even so, due to the limited space available, film crews still had to fight for tickets. Yang Biao could buy a ticket to enter the Film Entertainment Cultural Base as an investor, but the prerequisite was that he had to fight for a ticket. "I don't have that kind of ability. The boss sent a message saying that the tickets have already been booked for us. They were just sent out," Zhuo Yu replied. Yang Biao opened up his personal terminal. Indeed, there was an unread message lying there. The surroundings had been too noisy, so he hadn't heard the notification. He was used to using military equipment in the army, so he wasn't used to using these mass-market products on Earth. He still had to get used to it. "I should buy a better personal terminal when I get paid," Yang Biao thought to himself. A week later, Yang Biao and Zhuo Yu boarded a spaceship bound for Planet Y. Nowadays, many film crews were renting space at the Y Film Entertainment Cultural Base. They had all signed contracts. The area Fang Zhao had bought was also rented by quite a number of people. Fang Zhao didn't have the time to manage it, so Duan Qianji had arranged for people to help him manage it. However, Duan Qianji was also very busy, so she left it to her subordinates to handle. It was fine at the start, but as time went on, the number of film crews renting space increased, and some people started to play tricks. Silver Wing was fine because they had people watching over them, but they couldn't take care of everything. At Fang Zhao's place, there were some people who defaulted on their debts. These people didn't dare to fool Duan Qianji, but they dared to fool Fang Zhao. It wasn't that IOUs couldn't be written, and it wasn't that installments couldn't be paid, but first you had to pay. When Fang Zhao checked the accounts, he knew that some people were playing tricks and defaulting on their debts this month. It wasn't a big deal, and his side was in the right. Fang Zhao didn't look for Duan Qianji, nor did he bother the people at the Y base. After all, Zhuo Yu was as idle as a salted fish, and Yang Biao had already recovered. He just wanted to find something for them to do. One was a special forces veteran, and the other was a retired major. Both of them had gun permits, and they had a deterrent effect. When Yang Biao and Zhuo Yu arrived at the Y Film Entertainment Cultural Base, they were shocked when they saw the ancient buildings. Even though there were videos online, it still couldn't compare to seeing it in person. Yang Biao studied the map and took a deep breath. "That area over there, is it all boss's land?" Zhuo Yu confirmed it 3 times and nodded. "Yes, it's over there. Shall we patrol the site now?" Yang Biao was a little impatient. The feeling of traveling through time and space in this ancient city was really strange. No wonder people liked to come here to film. Indeed, filming on location was even more thrilling. If even he was like this, then those actors with extraordinary acting skills would probably feel even more. "Let's go." Zhuo Yu hurried forward. They didn't disturb places where film crews were filming, so they carefully bypassed them. However, when they arrived at an inn, they saw a group of people arguing. Some people were even fighting. Is this filming or for real? Zhuoyu looked around and didn't see any cameras. Furthermore, at the center of the argument, the people were dressed differently. Some were dressed in ancient clothing, while others were dressed in modern clothing. They're really fighting, Zhuoyu concluded. Should we call the outpost team stationed nearby? Zhuoyu asked. Yang Biao loosened his shoulders and said to Zhuoyu, there's no need to trouble the outpost team for such a small matter. Note down what these people damaged. I'll take care of the rest. With that said, he walked over and shouted as he walked, Hey, what are you doing? Stop fighting. After shouting, with 3 punches, 2 kicks, and 1 slap, he neatly knocked down the people who were fighting the most fiercely. Those who had been knocked down lay on the ground for a long time, their minds still in a daze. Seeing this, the others at the side all took 2 steps back. Their gazes swept over Yang Biao, who was obviously not to be trifled with, and Zhuoyu, who was walking over. You guys, who are you? Us. Yang Biao's tanned face revealed a toothy grin. Debt collectors. When the people around saw the 2 of them acting like this, debt collectors were automatically translated into protection fee collectors in their minds. How long had it been since the film studio complex opened, and there were already such underground transactions? The military didn't care. But then again, it made sense. On Earth, most of the more remote shops, film studios, and blackstreet shops all had such situations. It was not surprising that a black industry had sprung up here. A man who seemed to be the leader of the group looked at Yang Biao and Zhuoyu cautiously. Don't do anything reckless. We will call the police, the outpost team. We are civilized people, law-abiding, Zhuoyu said. The surrounding people. It would have been more believable if you hadn't revealed your guns when you said that. Within a week of Zhuoyu and Yang Biao arriving at the film studio cultural base, Fang Zhao had collected his debts one by one. He had also collected the compensation for the fight. Yang Biao had also mentioned the problems with the film studio complex during his phone call. Some people think that they can overturn the situation when the owner isn't around and no one cares about them. Boss, I feel that just me and Zhuoyu aren't enough. After all, the site is huge. Even if there's a small conflict, we can't really shoot. Using fists and kicks to settle things is physically taxing. After all, there are only the 2 of us. Silver Wing has a team dedicated to security. I saw that they are all retired soldiers. We can follow suit, but we don't need that many people. 10 will do, Yang Biao told Fang Zhao. I know a few comrades who were discharged from the military for various reasons. Some were like me, discharged due to injuries, but their characters are definitely reliable. Fang Zhao had actually thought about this problem. When Yang Biao brought it up, he agreed. Zhuoyu's side is the same. You can recommend anyone suitable. Understood. The reason Fang Zhao had asked Yang Biao and Zhuoyu to go to the film studio complex was, firstly, to collect debts, and secondly, to control the situation. There were many people in the film studio complex, and there was no lack of trouble. Conflicts between film crews were not uncommon. After ending the call with Yang Biao, Fang Zhao checked his current savings. His savings, plus the money for the music for the scenes in the film and television series, and the future profits of the film studio complex, were sufficient. Fang Zhao planned to hold a solo concert after his military service. In Yangzhou, there were 3 internationally certified music halls, 5 tones, vinyl records, and Golden Age. But among these 3, the first 2 had strict requirements for performers. The standard to measure their artistic standards was the honors the performers had won. Otherwise, they could not rent them. In other words, if the performers did not meet the other party's requirements, they would not agree to rent the venue. As for the last of the 3, which was also the only hall that could be rented as long as one paid, Golden Age, that was Fang Zhao's choice. Golden Age had the lowest artistic standards among the 3. The average age of the performers was also lower than the other 2 music halls. It was an important venue for many newcomers in the music industry to take their first step onto the high end of the stage. Xue Jing's suggestion to Fang Zhao was to start with Golden Age. Without sufficient high-quality awards and honors, it was impossible to apply to perform at the other two music halls. Given Fang Zhao's current status in the music industry, without any heavyweight awards, he could only apply for Golden Age. But Golden Age had one requirement that stopped many people in their tracks: it was expensive. Fang Zhao checked the application fee for that music hall and looked at his savings and income. He could afford it. Although he would not have much savings after applying, after his military service, he still had all sorts of endorsement deals and other income. When the time came, he would not be strapped for cash. However, because Golden Age was a venue that could be rented as long as one paid and had expensive rentals, it did not have a good reputation in the industry. Some virtuous people were unwilling to perform there and would rather wait a few decades and win more awards before applying to the other two music halls in Yangzhou. To prevent Fang Zhao from overthinking things, Xue Jing had specially advised Fang Zhao. Although Golden Age did not have a good reputation as a venue for newcomers to perform, it was a very good stage and an excellent place to train. Whether it was vulgar or not, everyone had their own opinions. Whatever your heart desires, you will prevail. This was what Xue Jing told Fang Zhao. Actually, Xue Jing was overthinking things. Fang Zhao knew very well that what he needed now was a stage to test his ability. Joseph had suggested that Fang Zhao look for a company to hype up, but Fang Zhao did not agree. If his own ability could not keep up, he could only rely on hype. Normal business operations were fine, but to gain the approval of those investment giants was impossible. Those people were all smart. With one look, they could see traces of operations and even guess the trajectory of operations. Chapter 252. Although the Golden Age Music Hall was expensive, there were still quite a number of applicants. Fang Zhao checked the official website's booking schedule. Slots for February next year were already fully booked. Reservations could only be made in March and after, but weekends from March to May were mostly booked, so he could only book for weekdays. Fang Zhao's military service would end in April next year, and he still had to produce music after that, so it was impossible to book so early. Thus, Fang Zhao booked a Saturday night in August. If he couldn't make it, he could postpone it, but the deposit could not be refunded. Apart from his military service, other than composing assignments from Silver Wing and composing his own works for concerts, Fang Zhao had to deal with the consultant team's matters. The list of consultant team members had basically been finalized, and the chat group was starting to get lively. Every day, the team leader would raise a few topics to let the members familiarize themselves with each other and let everyone voice their opinions and suggestions on these topics. The script had yet to be seen, but the enthusiasm of the consultant team had already been raised. Because they had yet to officially start researching the script, the members of the consultant team chatted rather casually. They were all hired by major investors, and some of them were even people of high status and authority, so there was less apprehension. On this day, the consultant team leader wanted everyone to add to the personalities, lifestyles, and other aspects of the founding era's leaders. Those people were heroes, but they were still people, not cold-blooded killing machines. They had real emotions. The purpose of discussing these was to add more elements to the script and make the characters of the few great figures more fulfilling. The various famous battles of the founding era were recorded in history textbooks, and they were also covered in exams. Therefore, students who were good at history would know about large-scale battles. However, most people had no idea about the true personalities, habits, and other aspects of these leaders. One day, when Fang Zhao returned from a mission, he opened the chat group and saw that it was in a lively discussion. It was completely different from the serious atmosphere of academic research that outsiders imagined. This bunch of people were gossiping about the great figures, but most of them were big shots in the history and literature circles. After all, only people of their statuses dared to gossip about the great figures in the chat group. Those who were younger and didn't have much weight were quietly watching. As a junior in the circles, Fang Zhao naturally couldn't butt in when the big shots were discussing. This wasn't a big deal. In any case, Fang Zhao just wanted to know what kind of embarrassing things this bunch of people had dug up. A big shot who studied history was talking excitedly. "Let's not talk about Wu Yang's little lover. The Wu family definitely won't allow it. However, Wu Yang's fear of dogs should be written into the script. Let me warn you. Although the current Yangzhou governor does not have the surname Wu, you can't casually slander him. You need evidence. The mighty and domineering General Wu Yang was afraid of dogs. You're not afraid of so many monsters, but afraid of dogs. No one would believe this. I found people from Shizhou and managed to convince them to hand over some of General Lu Shi's personal notes. The notes mentioned that General Wu Yang was actually afraid of dogs, so his relationship with General Su Mu wasn't that good. What else was written in Great General Lu Shi's notebook? The others were also interested and decided not to argue for the time being. According to the information provided by Shizhou, it was also mentioned that General Lakalina's ancestor was the Empress. There's no need to elaborate on this point. Everyone who studies history knows that during the founding era, Lakalina originally wanted to be an empress. She even got an artist to draw a painting called Lakalina I. That painting is still hanging in the Lajou Museum. Later on, when the entire world changed its system, there was only one governor. However, over at Lajou, every governor still considers himself an emperor in private. Hey, let me finish. Not only did the notes mention that Lakalina was an empress, it also mentioned that she was originally a germaphobe, but she gradually changed during the period of destruction. Germaphobe? After the period of destruction, even the biggest germaphobe could be changed. That's true. What else? Besides being a germaphobe, Lakalina actually had trypophobia. Really? That's what was written in the notes. Whether it's true or not, we have to ask General Lu Shi. Or perhaps we can ask someone from Lakalina's family. Lakalina's family will definitely not admit to it. Actually, regardless of whether it's a germaphobe or trypophobia, to be able to survive the period of destruction for so many years and to be able to wield power, one would know that she had overcome it long ago. There's no point in investigating whether it's true or not. The focus of the script would not be on that. Furthermore, Lakalina's family is very prideful. Even if it's true, they would not agree to write it into the script. Fang Zhao looked at them and gossiped about the great generals of the founding era. Even Fang Zhao, the unlucky leader who had perished before the founding era, was discussed. The good thing was that Lu Shi's notes did not include too many of Fang Zhao's embarrassing incidents, but he did record that Fang Zhao was a musician. The expert who was fortunate enough to obtain a portion of Lu Shi's notes had even posted a few screenshots of the notes to prove the veracity of his words. There's a symphony orchestra living in Fang Zhao's brain. These were the exact words in Lu Shi's notes. After digging through the various leaders, it finally returned to the problem of the script. Seems like the great figures of the founding era were not that perfect. Should all these be written in? I don't think so. But this is also a shining point of their human nature. No one can be perfect. Only when there are flaws can they be called human. These cannot be written in. Filter out some and make it more artistic. That's fine too. Only when he saw the chat in the group did Fang Zhao realize that this group of big shots in the consultant team were so gossipy. When they were happy, they were as excited as entertainment reporters discussing the private affairs of various celebrities. After watching from the side for a few days, Fang Zhao realized that the person the consultant team leader worshipped the most was the founding era leader Fang Zhao. As for the founding era leader Fang Zhao, according to the general content of the script, he could not be considered one of the main leads, but he was still an important supporting character. In December, Fang Zhao received the first draft of the script. Together with the other members of the consultant team, they started discussing and revising the script's historical progression and character traits. Yang Biao and Zhuo Yu arrived on planet Baiji at the end of December. Fang Zhao had helped them handle the formalities. This time, Yang Biao was not coming in with the identity of a soldier in Baiji military district. He had to go through all sorts of procedures. Looking at the current planet Baiji, Yang Biao had mixed feelings, but overall, he was still happy. He had revisited an old place and had gotten together with his old comrades. Planet Y was Zhuo Yu's first time leaving his home planet. It felt like a vacation. There was a sense of novelty, but that was all. Usually, He patrolled the set and watched others film. In general, the atmosphere at the Y Film Studio base was more relaxed. As long as there was no trouble, it was still very harmonious. But Planet Baiji was different. Even before entering the atmosphere, Fang Zhao could feel a more solemn atmosphere. The military here was much stronger than on Planet Y. Over at the film studio base, Yang Biao introduced Fang Zhao to 6 retired soldiers and Zhuoyu introduced 2. Now, there were 10 people patrolling the streets of the film studio base. Even if Zhuoyu and Yang Biao were not around, there were still 8 people guarding the place. That was enough. There was no need to worry about the film crew causing trouble. Once there was supervision, the film crew that always stirred up trouble in the dark became much more well-behaved, and their debts were greatly reduced. Some film crews really could not fork out much money. Seeing that their attitude was good and their reputation was passable, Fang Zhao would not be too harsh. On this trip to Planet Baiji, Yang Biao and Zhuoyu had even helped Fang Zhao bring some feed for the hybrid sea slug. There is also an electronic file. Denzel said that he would send it to you online. It is about the amount of feed to be used, Yang Biao told Fang Zhao. As for the plot of land that the Interplanetary Fund has circled, construction has indeed started, but there are people guarding it. I have not been able to find a chance to get close. There are already people guessing the use of that area in the film studio base. Some paparazzi went there to secretly take pictures, but they were caught and locked up in Y Base's prison. Since then, nobody has gone near that area. There is no need to keep watch over that area, Fang Zhao said. Chapter 253. Yang Biao and Zhuoyu did not stay on Planet Baiji for long before they returned to Earth. Yang Biao was still fine when he left. He had also seen his comrades. His days after retiring from the military had been pretty good. Although he still had some nostalgia and regrets, he had to look forward to the future. He had adjusted his mindset and felt carefree. On the other hand, Zhuoyu could not bear to leave. This was the base he had imagined for a foreign planet. This was the construction site for future immigrants. He had not seen enough. However, as Memorial Day neared, Zhuoyu could not continue staying on Planet Baiji. He and Yang Biao had to catch a flight. As Memorial Day approached, some construction sites on Planet Baiji gradually stopped working. The workers all had to return home to celebrate the holidays with their families. There were too many people, and flights were limited. The later it was, the harder it was to get a flight, so it was better to leave early. Fang Zhao gave them Memorial Day off. The film studio complex had seen fewer filming crews recently, so there was no need for too many people to keep an eye on things. 2 of Yang Biao's old comrades were not returning to Earth, so Fang Zhao and great-grandmother Fang stayed behind to watch over the place. Great-grandfather and great-grandmother Fang did not intend to return either. After so many years, this was the first time they had a chance to celebrate in the military district. This might also be the last time in their lives. As they grew older, it would be difficult for them to travel far, let alone go to places outside of Earth. Fang Zhao was different from the other sentries at the outpost. He was only serving temporarily. Generally speaking, people like him who were forced to serve by the government were more relaxed and enjoyed Memorial Day off. Great-grandfather and great-grandmother Fang had already tidied up Fang Zhao's room in the military family quarters so that he could rest well on Memorial Day. On the first day of Memorial Day, Fang Zhao left the outpost early in the morning with the water tank containing the rabbit and went to the military family quarters. Kevin Lin followed him to the military family quarters. Due to the nature of his work, the base had arranged for him to stay in a special dormitory, but Kevin Lin was very busy. He had already planned to do a military district Memorial Day program. This was also a request from the program team. Now, he only had Fang Zhao appear during the live broadcast every day. After that, Fang Zhao had nothing to do. Even though he did not have to go on missions every day, Fang Zhao did not idle around. He took out the second script issued by the chief consultant and checked the contents to see if there were any areas that needed to be changed. Before reading the script, Fang Zhao logged into the consultant group chat as usual. The group of big shots was still very lively. Perhaps it was because Memorial Day was approaching, but people were bringing up the period of destruction heroes more frequently. These experts were also chatting excitedly. Fang Zhao had also been mentioned many times. Actually, this bunch of people also knew that it wasn't good to talk too much about the personal affairs of the great generals. If it went too far, the major families of the various continents would have objections. However, with Fang Zhao, they didn't have to worry about being investigated for gossiping. After all, that person didn't have any direct descendants. Relatives. It's been 500 years, who cares if you're that person's relative? At the beginning of the new era, there weren't many benefits to being related to someone, let alone 500 years later. Therefore, even if there were people using the banner of period of destruction leader Fang Zhao's relative, they would not be able to gain any benefits. However, when some people brought up Fang Zhao and said some bad rumors about Fang Zhao, without waiting for Fang Zhao to say anything, the old head consultant personally spoke up and even listed the words from the memoirs of Su Mu, Lu Shi, and a few others to clear Fang Zhao's name. Today, watching this bunch of people excitedly discuss the important leaders of the period of destruction, Fang Zhao still did not interrupt. Actually, when it came to the history of the period of destruction, Fang Zhao remembered the things that he had experienced himself, but he might not know as much as these people who specialized in period of destruction history from other continents. Even when it came to Yanzhou's history, if Fang Zhao spoke in too much detail, especially those matters where it was difficult to find evidence, it would easily arouse suspicion. After all, the setting of this historical drama and the setting of the game were different, so the emphases were also different. Therefore, when Fang Zhao discovered that certain parts of the script were not right, he would list out the evidence he could find. As for the rest, he would let the scriptwriters do whatever they wanted. Fang Zhao found it funny when he saw this bunch of people start gossiping again. Today, the mood in the group had changed again. This bunch of big shots had activated their fangirl mode. My idol is a master of both the pen and the sword. He has an imposing appearance, the historian from Jinzhou said excitedly. He was talking about Jinzhou's great general Chu Yuanjin. My idol is confident and suave. His divine skills are matchless. The historian from Tongzhou had his own fan filter. He was talking about Tongzhou's great general Wu Tong. My idol is a man of great talent and a natural beauty. The historian from Lajou was talking about Lajou's Empress Lakalina I. After that, there were also admirers of Su Mu, Reina, and others. Every great general of the founding era had countless admirers. Even though many historians liked to dig up the private affairs of big shots, it seemed that not talking about these great people's private affairs was a sign of incompetence. But even if they knew that these people were not perfect, it still could not stop their hearts from worshipping them. In the new era, people were full of admiration for the heroes of the founding era. That was their faith. After the great generals of the founding era praised them one by one, the old head consultant waited for a while and could not hold it in any longer. My idol is brave and skillful in battle. He is multi-talented. However, when the old head consultant said this, other people followed up. That person is very impressive. It's just that his fate was not good. Then, he added another bloody slash. His fate was not good. This was the evaluation of Fang Zhao by people who understood history. After fighting in Yangzhou for over 90 years, just as the war was about to end, he fell and did not even leave behind a direct descendant. When historians talked about Fang Zhao, they had the interest of gossiping, but most of them sighed and felt regret. Fang Zhao watched this bunch of people sigh for the ill-fated leader and felt slightly complicated. He had not expected that this bunch of people would feel it more deeply than he did. However, regarding this matter, Fang Zhao did not take it to heart. In his previous life, before he died, he also had some regrets, but the regret was that he could not see the day the war ended. As for other things, he really did not think too much about it. Furthermore, he had obtained the opportunity to be reborn. This was something that his old friends did not get. Fang Zhao laughed silently. After reading through the second script, He marked out the problematic areas and wrote down what needed to be written before sending it to the head consultant. On Earth, after the head consultant finished chatting in the group chat, he went offline and lamented the misfortune of Fang Zhao with a few colleagues. When he received a notification of a new document, he looked at the sender and could not help but laugh. Oh, just as we were talking, this little fella appeared. What is it? Your little disciple, someone beside him asked curiously. How could it be? It is a little fella from the consultant team. I heard that he was recommended by the Interplanetary Fund. His knowledge of history is indeed very solid, the head consultant said. Why? Concerned about the younger generation? There are so many young juniors in the institute, but I have never seen you praise them. This is different. The head consultant looked at the sender's name. This is a rare person who is not suppressed by his name. Chapter 254. Was it that easy to have the same name as the leaders of the period of destruction? Given how much people in the new era worshipped the heroes of the period of destruction, even if there was a bad side to a certain important figure, the fanatical worshippers wouldn't care. The fanatical worshippers would think, negative news? Character flaw? I won't listen. I don't believe it. Anyway, my idol is number one in the world. How shameless can he be to have the same name as my idol? Once they saw someone with the same name as their idol, they couldn't help but look at them with sharp gazes. This created a lot of pressure for those with the same name and surname. There were too many worshippers of the heroes of the period of destruction. Not in the tens of thousands, but in the hundreds of millions, and those who had the same name as the heroes would face all sorts of doubts no matter where they went. There were also some worshippers who didn't want to see others with the same name as their idol, but they had a different request for their descendants. They gave their descendants the same name as the heroes and hoped that their descendants would become heroes like their idol. However, many of those who had the same name as the heroes couldn't handle the pressure and changed their names. Generally, people who could withstand the pressure and make a name for themselves weren't simple. This was what the old consultant meant when he said, "It's rare to see people who aren't suppressed by their names." When he had seen the young fellow from the consultant team who had the same name as his idol, he had been very surprised and had paid even more attention to Fang Zhao. Even the old consultant had the same mentality as other worshippers. When he saw the name Fang Zhao, he couldn't help but compare and see how capable the other party was. This was human nature. As the Revolutionary Film Project's chief consultant and head of the consultant team, the old consultant would also pay special attention to Fang Zhao's draft when he looked at everyone's submissions and would have higher expectations. However, he was very satisfied with Fang Zhao's comments from the start of the review. No wonder he has the same name as my idol, the old consultant thought to himself. But there was another possibility. If Fang Zhao's performance was too poor, the old consultant would surely think, what kind of joke is this? He actually has the same name as my idol. This was a common mentality among worshippers. Of course, Fang Zhao didn't know what the old consultant was thinking. After he sent the draft over, he flipped through the messages in the chat group that he hadn't seen yet. According to the group's discussion, Fang Zhao's experiences during the period of destruction would be a tragic supporting role in a film. In fact, that was what was written in the script. Compared to the great generals of the founding era, Fang Zhao's influence was not as great. Furthermore, 500 years had passed, and his deeds had mainly appeared in history books. Many people outside of Yangzhou did not know much about him. Even for people from Yangzhou, other than memorizing the information for their history exams, they would not take the initiative to learn about history. What was history? Once it was in the past, they would forget it. However, on Memorial Day every year, the peddlers selling New Year paintings at the Cemetery of Martyrs would remind everyone that other than the great generals of the founding era, there was still such an important hero. Fang Zhao searched for the styles of the New Year paintings on sale at the Yangzhou Cemetery for Martyrs. Looking at his new image on the New Year paintings, Fang Zhao felt that it hurt his eyes. I won't buy it this year. I'll draw it myself. On the second day of the holiday, which was also Memorial Day, Kevin Lin came over and asked Fang Zhao to broadcast his blessings to his audience before leaving in a hurry. Actually, Kevin Lin also wanted Fang Zhao to record more scenes, but the program team's editorial department had other plans. The program team had told Kevin Lin in private that Fang Zhao was no longer important. What was important was how to find material. They had to take advantage of the important timing of Memorial Day to find material that was more meaningful. They had to highlight those low-level soldiers who were not qualified enough to bring their families back and were unable to return home on Memorial Day. Also, there was the batch of brats coming over for military service in October. They might not be used to it, so they should record more. They were also very good material. In short, they wanted Kevin Lin to find more tear-jerking material that could ignite heated discussions and cause a huge emotional upheaval. Since it was an order from above, Kevin Lin could only do as he was told. He had tactfully conveyed this to Fang Zhao. Seeing that Fang Zhao did not mind, Kevin Lin's psychological burden lessened a little and he did his best to handle his own matters. His 4 colleagues from the other stations were also gearing up for action. Kevin Lin did not want to fall behind in the fight for attention on Memorial Day. After sending his blessings, Kevin Lin left and Fang Zhao continued painting. After a short while, Granny Lin told Fang Zhao that someone was looking for him. The person was a major under Edmund in charge of the mining area. His name was Liu Yang. He lived next door and had helped out great-grandfather and great-grandmother on some small matters, so they were familiar with each other. He had even brought some small Memorial Day gifts. Liu Yang handed the gifts to great-grandmother Lin. When he entered the room, he saw the brush and paper on Fang Zhao's table and asked curiously, "Drawing?" As Fang Zhao had not finished painting, Liu Yang could not tell who he was drawing. Fang Zhao put down his brush and asked, "Just for fun. Is something the matter?" "Cough, I do have a request," Liu Yang said sheepishly. Asking for help on Memorial Day was indeed not very nice, but he could not find anyone else at the moment, so he could only try asking Fang Zhao. "It's like this." Liu Yang explained the reason for his visit. His wife was a doctor at Baiji Military District Hospital. Before the military district had been established, she had been a military doctor here. The couple had been on Baiji for a long time. Liu Yang's wife was pregnant. Her due date had not been today, but because of a small accident this morning, she had been rushed to the hospital to await delivery. Liu Yang would be guarding the mining area from this afternoon until noon the next day. He had looked for other comrades to switch shifts, but there was no time. Those who wanted to switch shifts had already submitted their applications a month in advance and had already completed their shifts. It was impossible for them to help him at the last minute. Time was too tight, and Liu Yang could not look for them one by one. When he saw Kevin Lin come over to shoot a video with Fang Zhao, he thought of asking Fang Zhao for help. If it had been anyone else, even if their rank was higher than Liu Yang's, Liu Yang might not have felt at ease looking for them. But Fang Zhao was different. If it was Fang Zhao, Edmund would definitely be easy to talk to. Hearing this, Fang Zhao nodded. No problem. He still had a day off tomorrow. Even if he had to stay up all night, he would still have time to adjust. Thank you so much," Liu Yang said emotionally. Since Fang Zhao had agreed, he immediately applied to Edmund. Edmund was an old acquaintance. Back when Fang Zhao had first arrived on planet Baiji, he had met Edmund when he had been serving in the mining area. Although Edmund was still in charge of the power ore mine near the base, now that the power ore mine had been upgraded, it could not be compared to the previous one. Edmund had also been promoted to Major General. Now, Edmund had moved his family to planet Baiji and did not wish to return to his home planet. Indeed, when Edmund heard this, he hesitated for a while before agreeing. If it had been anyone else, Edmund would surely have thought too much and wondered if there was something fishy going on. He would surely have viewed this matter with suspicion and vigilance, but the person taking over was Fang Zhao, so his suspicions were dispelled. Although his military rank was slightly lower, Fang Zhao was still very suitable for emergency situations and made people feel at ease. Stealing ore? That was impossible. As the first discoverer of Baiji ore, Fang Zhao had received a batch of ore from the military district. Although it had not been taken out yet, When the military district had been established, Commander-in-Chief Shanta had already signed off that the ore would be given to Fang Zhao when he retired. Fang Zhao simply did not need to take the risk of losing all his merits to steal a few pieces of ore. After receiving approval to take over, Lu Yang led Fang Zhao to the duty booth at the mining area. What you need to do is very simple. Just check to see if the other party's approval materials are the same as the ones in the system. If they are, stamp the other party's pass. This is a stamping machine. If the stamp is successful, an electric current will flash. If the materials are not the same, look for the guards to resolve it. But you don't have to worry. This is just a formality. Basically, there won't be any problems. If it was something too important or complicated, or if it involved personal safety, Lu Yang would not have looked for Fang Zhao. It was precisely because it was not a big deal and Fang Zhao was steady and trustworthy that Lu Yang had looked for Fang Zhao to take over. Oh, right. Remember to wear the work uniform at the side. The energy field in the mining area is stronger, 15 times stronger than when you first arrived. Even if you are in the duty booth, don't be careless. If you exceed an hour, the energy field will affect your emotions. Lu Yang explained everything to Fang Zhao in detail. After Fang Zhao had completely mastered it, Lu Yang thanked him again before leaving. Fang Zhao had nothing else to do in the duty booth. He looked around. There were surveillance cameras both inside and outside the duty booth, but Fang Zhao had no ulterior motives and was not afraid of being captured. In the duty booth, he could not go online or casually chat with others. So Fang Zhao just sat there, thinking about the few pieces he had been composing recently. In the next hour, 2 construction workers came over who needed to stamp their passes. Following Lu Yang's instructions, Fang Zhao verified them and stamped them using the special stamping machine at the side. The sky gradually darkened. Just as Fang Zhao's mind was playing a symphony, someone else came over. It was 3 people wearing mining uniforms and protective helmets. The helmets had quite a few stains on them, so it was hard to tell what they looked like. But this kind of attire was very common here. The people who had come here to stamp their passes were all the same. Fang Zhao looked at the materials the other party handed over and glanced at the 3 people outside the booth. Under their watchful eyes, he took the pass and stamped it on the stamping machine. There was a flash of electricity on the stamp, a sign that the stamp had been successfully stamped. "Happy Memorial Day," Fang Zhao said. The other party was stunned when they heard Fang Zhao's words. "Thank you." The 3 of them left with the stamped passes. When they reached a place where no one was looking, one of them suppressed his excitement and said in a low voice, "Ha ha ha ha, didn't I say that stamping was easy? The people on duty are all idlers. They definitely couldn't tell. And they even wished us a happy holiday, idiot. We have already gotten the stamps here. We have all the stamps we need. We definitely won't have any problems leaving," the other person said excitedly. Chapter 255. With their passes, the 3 of them arrived at a warehouse. There were 5 people waiting inside. Next to them, there was a moving cart with 6 sealed boxes on it. Upon seeing them, the person on the moving truck asked eagerly, "How did it go?" "Everything went smoothly. All 3 stamps have been stamped." The person holding the pass smiled proudly. "The 3rd stamp, the person at the guard post even wished us a happy holiday." What an idiot. The 3rd stamp was stamped at the guard post. "Is the person over there Lu Yang?" Someone sitting at the side suddenly asked. "I don't know, he was wearing a work uniform and I couldn't see what he looked like." The person holding the pass recalled. "Anyway, he sounded quite young. He didn't make things difficult for you?" the person asked again. Lu Yang was talkative and would ask questions sometimes. "He didn't make things difficult for us. He only wished us a happy Memorial Day." "Isn't Lu Yang's wife in the hospital?" If it was him, it's understandable that he wasn't in the mood to ask questions today. It doesn't matter if it's Lu Yang or not, as long as there's no problem with the stamps. The leader took out a mini scanner and scanned the stamp. The stamp on the pass was not obvious after it was stamped. Only when it was scanned by a special scanner would it light up. These 3 stamps were their keys to board the transport plane. Seeing the 3 lit-up stamps on the pass, the few of them relaxed. All right, all 3 stamps have been stamped. Nothing is missing. Are we leaving now? Let's go. It's probably Memorial Day and no one is inspecting the mining area. Let's hurry. I wonder what the union will think when they find out that 8 miners are missing. Hee. What's the big deal about 8 miners? It'll be interesting when they find out that 5 tons of Baiji ore are missing after Memorial Day. 5 tons of A-grade power ore was not a lot in the entire mining area, but it was definitely not a small amount either. It was not a statistic that could be easily erased. There would probably be a group of people who would be stunned by this news. Let's ask around if there's anything unusual, the leader said to the person on the moving truck after keeping the pass. They had not only relied on the 8 of them to steal the ore, they had also relied on an insider. This was the result of their 6 months of hard work. Everything is normal. There are no unusual movements around, the person on the box replied. Bring the items and act according to the plan. Retreat. All 8 of them changed into miners' uniforms and left the warehouse with their belongings. Baiji Spaceport. After showing all sorts of identification to the airport guards, the 8 of them successfully arrived at the airport. It was relatively empty today, probably because there were not many people coming and going because of Memorial Day. They brought the trucks to a transport ship. The ores mined from the mines they belonged to would be sent to this transport ship. The transport ship would then fly out of the planet and enter the transport ship to unload the goods. However, as long as they successfully boarded the transport aircraft, there would be no problems. Under the watchful eyes of the guards, they appeared very calm as they brought the trucks and the goods on them to the transport plane. The leader took out his pass and swiped it at the boarding gate. A dull electronic sound rang out, and a crimson stop symbol popped up. No entry. The 8 of them tensed up and glanced at the guards not far away. There were even more people staring at them. The leader's muscles tightened, but his expression remained calm. Maybe not all of them. This time, he held the pass and let the place where the stamp was facing the scanning port to ensure that all 3 stamps were scanned. Another dull electronic sound rang out, and the crimson stop symbol stung their eyes. What's going on? One of them asked in a trembling voice. He had already seen the guards heading over. The eyes of the person on the other side of the truck sharpened. He had already quietly reached for the gun hidden in his mining uniform. He was prepared to force open the hatch at any moment, but that would inevitably result in a firefight with the guards. Beads of perspiration formed on the leader's forehead. He gritted his teeth and scanned his pass at the scanning port again. A green allow entry symbol popped up. They had never felt that this beeping sound was so pleasing to the ear. It was like the sound of nature coming to their rescue. Rubbish system. The few of them cursed in their hearts. Scanning 3 times only to see it. If it wasn't a rubbish system, what was? Baiji Military District was so rich now. Why didn't they upgrade their scanning system? They were so scared that they thought they were about to engage in a bitter battle. It was a false alarm. As they watched the hatch open, their tense muscles relaxed, and a relaxed smile appeared on their faces. Success. They prepared to board the truck, but when the hatch was fully opened, the smiles on the faces of the 8 of them froze. On the other side of the hatch, 8 warriors wearing dark grey kinetic exoskeleton mecha armor were standing guard. The mecha armor glowed with a cold luster, and pitch-black muzzles were aimed at the 8 of them. The 8 of them, had they been discovered? Why were there mecha warriors here? Weren't these used to deal with terrorists and beasts? I just wanted to steal some ore. They actually sent mecha warriors over. Did they have nowhere to use their resources? Why use a butcher's knife to cut a chicken? The fingers of the leader holding the pass were trembling. His face was deathly pale, and his back was drenched in cold sweat. Disappointment, despair, and a chill ran down his spine. What should they do now? Throw a bomb? They had brought along small bombs that were easy to carry and could not be easily discovered. However, the destructive power of these portable bombs would be nothing to the opponent with the full protection of the kinetic exoskeleton. On the other hand, they might all be wiped out. Furthermore, they were not terrorists. They did not have the courage to perish together. They were still afraid of death. They did not even dare to touch their guns. They had done a background check on Baiji military district, so they knew very well how callous the mecha warriors, who were known as military weaponry, were. They had never wanted to provoke them. But they had never imagined that such a military weapon would be used on them. Trying to touch a gun. Perhaps the opponent would open fire before their hands even touched the gun. Just the kinetic combat rifle in the opponent's hands could dismember them with one shot, the kind that would tear them into pieces. Faced with a bull's knife, these few chickens who had stolen or were trembling in fear. They simply did not have the courage to resist. The moment they were handcuffed, they did not understand. What exactly had gone wrong? They had spent half a year figuring out the route, formulating a plan, clearing the way, and obtaining all sorts of travel documents. Today's operation had been very smooth, and they had also obtained the pass. All that was left was the final step. Why were they stuck here? A flying transport landed behind them. The one who alighted was Major General Edmund, the person in charge of the mining area near the base. Seeing the other party's knife-like gaze, the 8 men's faces were ashen. Under Edmund's cold gaze, he suppressed his surging anger. His voice was practically squeezed out from between his teeth. Bring them back. Don't disturb the festivities. The people beside him understood and gagged the 8 men. These 8 men had come and left quietly without causing a stir. The entire base seemed to be the same as usual. Nothing out of the ordinary had happened. Edmund did not bother with the 8 men anymore. He walked over. The guards had already opened up the boxes on the transport truck. It's grade A power ore, Baiji ore. 5 tons. It's all here, the spaceport guard captain said. Stealing so much. You sure have guts. Edmund's tone was calm, but anyone could sense the anger he was suppressing beneath his calm tone. Edmund had been having dinner with his family. After being stationed on planet Baiji for so many years, this was the first Memorial Day for his entire family to reunite. Coupled with his promotion and bright future, Edmund was very happy today and had even drunk a little. The moment Edmund received Fang Zhao's message, it was as if someone had thrown a block of ice at the back of his neck. He was startled. His happy mood faded, and he sobered up. 5 tons of grade A power ore might not be considered a lot, but this was grade A power ore. And it should be of decent quality. Preliminary estimates put the total value at more than 10 billion. Edmund did not dare bear the consequences of losing 10 billion worth of power ore. It was rare for him to seize the opportunity to climb to his current height and occupy a lucrative position. Many people wanted to drag him down. If something happened, all his ambitions would be cut short because of the disappearance of these 5 tons of power ore. Luckily, it had been stopped in time. After Edmund had taken inventory of the power ore, he reported the situation to Shanta. This emergency capture had been personally arranged by Shanta. Without Shanta's approval, the base's mecha operators could not be mobilized. For Shanta, he had to use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken, only then would it be convenient to carry out the rest. Did anyone else get alarmed? Shanta asked. No. Everything else is normal. No one noticed anything, Edmund replied. That's good. Shanta did not want to cause a commotion, not because he did not want to disturb the festivities on Memorial Day, but because he did not want to inadvertently alert the enemy. For these 8 people to be able to smuggle so much power ore out so smoothly, there was definitely more to it than just 1 or 2 days of planning. Usually, some mining companies that worked with them would steal a few pieces while transporting the power ore. Shanta could not be bothered to fuss about it. If he really did investigate, it would consume even more manpower and resources. As long as the other party did not go overboard, Shanta would turn a blind eye. But the nature of this incident was completely different. Furthermore, to steal so much at once, did they think he, the commander, was dead? Investigate. The enraged Shanta let out a rare bellow. After Shanta ended the call, he was still panting heavily. His eruption of anger had not subsided. He sat in his office, pondering how he could use this incident to get rid of a bunch of sneaky thieves. However, when he thought of Edmund's report, Shanta became curious again. Unable to suppress his curiosity, Shanta contacted Fang Zhao. "How did you discover that there was a problem with them?" Shanta asked. "I heard it," Fang Zhao replied. "Heard it again?" Shanta recalled the online evaluations of Fang Zhao's dieting and godly ears. "Listen, look. Heartbeat, breathing, and body movements can all reflect the other party's emotions. When those three approached the duty booth, they were nervous, guilty, and their emotions fluctuated a few times. Furthermore, there was a high possibility that they were carrying weapons of mass destruction," Fang Zhao explained. Actually, there was no need to listen. When those three approached, Fang Zhao's intuition, honed from the period of destruction, had already determined that there was a problem with them. However, he would not say this to outsiders. "So you stamped an expired stamp?" The stamp would be changed every few days, but other people did not know about this. All they knew was that 3 stamps could allow passage. After the 3 had left, Fang Zhao had immediately sent a message to Major General Edmund to explain the matter. After Edmund had investigated and discovered that there were indeed problems with the records, he had reported to Shanta. When the 8 people who had stolen the ore had tried to swipe their passes at the transport aircraft, they had not succeeded the first 2 times because the stamp was wrong. Of the 3 stamps, the first 2 were correct, but the third was wrong. They had not been able to form the correct passcode and had naturally been stopped. As for the third success, it had actually been the internal control of the transport aircraft. "This time, it's all thanks to you. I'll record down your contributions." Rewards and punishments were clear. This matter could not be considered major, but it was not minor either. After all, the value of the case exceeded 10 billion. Shanta had recorded down another merit for Fang Zhao. After ending the call, Shanta flipped through Fang Zhao's military service file out of curiosity. He saw the column 4 military service contributions. It was filled with a few pages of all sorts of merits, big and small. When his military service was over, making an exception and raising his rank would not be a problem. Impressive. So many temporary military service personnel, and only Fang Zhao had appeared. What a pity. Why did he take it so hard and choose to dabble in art? Chapter 256. On the first Memorial Day after the establishment of Planet Baiji, the entire military district was in turmoil. On the night of Memorial Day, those who were well informed were more or less notified, but most people were still unaware. Only on the second day did news spread that the military district had arrested a group of thieves worth more than 10 billion. For most people, this was already a huge amount and a sky-high price. Arrested last night? I didn't hear any commotion. I didn't hear anything either. They must have been prepared and didn't disturb the holiday. Nonsense. If there was a commotion, how would they have arrested them? They are still arresting them now. I heard that even mecha warriors have been mobilized. What? What's the background of the thieves? Terrorists? They actually mobilized mecha warriors. I heard that quite a number of people were arrested. Just wait and see. Quite a number of people will be arrested. To be able to steal so much ore, how could just a few people do it? The checks are so strict. Quite a number of people are going to be in big trouble this time. Our military district's prison will be put to use this time. At the first glimmer of dawn, Fang Zhao returned to the military district and heard many people discussing. He was supposed to be relieved at noon, but because of the strict checks at the mining area, Shanta and his direct subordinates had been mobilized and had made other arrangements, so Fang Zhao had returned first. As the overall supervisor of the base's mining area, Major General Edmund had not returned home after leaving yesterday. He had spent the entire night investigating, simply not giving those people any time to falsify data or erase any traces. Now that the investigations and arrests had been completed, Edmund and a few other supervisors of the mining area had gone to report to Shanta, but Shanta's spittle was still splattered all over their faces. In the prison, the ore thieves who had been locked up looked exhausted and did not want to say anything. They had already been interrogated several times. Now, the boss of this operation had not returned. They even wondered if the people at the base had interrogated them through torture. They could not help but shudder at the thought of all kinds of torture. One of the men sitting on the floor was still pondering. They had prepared for half a year before taking advantage of Memorial Day, when many people were distracted. The first few steps had been very smooth. What exactly had gone wrong? He forced himself to calm down and carefully thought through every step of the operation. Then, he found that the most likely problem was the third chapter, the sentry post. Now, his mind was still echoing with the Happy Memorial Day that the other party had said when he had handed them the pass. It was simply poisonous. Happy Memorial Day. Next year's Memorial Day would be the 1-year anniversary of their imprisonment. Yes, it must be there. The more he thought about it, the more convinced he was. However, who was the third person who stamped on them? Was it Liu Yang? Thinking back to the voice at that time, it didn't sound like it. But if it wasn't Liu Yang, who else could it be? Just as they were thinking, their boss, who had been taken out for interrogation, returned. He seemed to be in low spirits, but he didn't seem to be injured. How was it? Did they interrogate you? Several people asked. This question caused the person who had just entered to explode. He threw a punch at the person in front of him, sending his broken teeth flying. Are you fucking stupid? Why didn't you check who was the substitute before you went to stamp the seal? The third stamp wasn't Liu Yang's, it was Fang Zhao's. It was Fang Zhao's. It was the Fang Zhao who was rumored to have godly ears. He must have heard that there's something wrong with you. He was just one step away, but he was ruined at this step, falling short of success at the last step. Falling short of success at the last step. The roar reverberated in the small room, hurting everyone's ears. However, the other 7 simply couldn't care less about this. They were stunned by the news their boss brought back. Fang Zhao. That Fang Zhao who had all sorts of rumors on planet Baiji. Why had he appeared at that place? They had investigated Liu Yang before taking action and had even created some trouble for Liu Yang to distract him. They had never imagined that Liu Yang would actually find Fang Zhao to replace him. There were 3 chapters, and the degree of examination was from heavy to light. It could be said that the third chapter was basically going through the procedures, and there was no problem. Who would have thought that they would fail at the step that should not have gone wrong? Was that Fang Zhao really, like the rumors said, able to discern truth from falsehood, lies, truth from falsehood? It wasn't just the 8 people locked up in the prison who thought this way. Practically everyone who knew about this thought the same way. In their hearts, they had already deified Fang Zhao's ears. Shanta had personally said that Fang Zhao, who possessed godly ears, had made great contributions in this matter. Actually, Shanta was just sighing ruefully. He hadn't imagined that his subordinates would overthink his words. However, Shanta wouldn't pay attention to how his subordinates evaluated Fang Zhao's ears. Based on the results of the 8 people he had interrogated, he had followed this trail and arrested another batch of people. This time, Shanta had a good time arresting people. Those who deserved to be punished were punished, and those who deserved to be locked up were locked up. Because of Shanta's attitude, the various mining areas' dirty tricks were greatly restrained. Fang Zhao didn't know that his ears were being discussed. After returning to the military family district, he went to the hospital to visit Liu Yang and his wife, as well as their young daughter who had been born on Memorial Day. Fang Zhao, thank you. Thank you so much this time, Liu Yang said gratefully. After finding out about the mining area from his comrade, Liu Yang was extremely grateful. Luckily, he had found Fang Zhao to replace him. If he had been on duty yesterday, perhaps things would really have played out as those people had predicted. Because he had been absent-minded, he had hurriedly scanned through the documents and stamped his seal before letting those people off. If that had really happened, When the news of 5 tons of grade A power ore being stolen from the mining area got out, his road to promotion might have ended there. Liu Yang even suspected that his wife's sudden mishap had been a deliberate act by those mine thieves. Whether it was as he had guessed, he would investigate it himself. At this thought, Liu Yang's eyes flashed, but very quickly, when he heard Fang Zhao ask about his little daughter, his gaze was replaced by warmth. Ha ha ha, very healthy, very pretty little baby. Her name is Ank. I hope she will be safe and sound. Come, take a look. Isn't she very cute? Fang Zhao looked at the baby in the swaddling clothes and couldn't help but smile. He nodded and said, very cute. Liu Yang's posture was a little stiff. He had originally intended to immediately pass the baby to the nurse beside him, but after some thought, he passed the baby to Fang Zhao instead. Hey, benefactor, come, give me a hug. Fang Zhao, like this, hold her like this. Hey, don't copy me. I am also a newbie. Here, do you see the nurses over there? Hold her like that. Liu Yang corrected Fang Zhao's posture and even smiled at his wife. Look at these youngsters. They are just too nervous. They are as stiff as a rock. They aren't even as good as me. Fang Zhao's whole body was tense. Looking at the soft little thing in his hands, his whole body tensed up. He could carry a gun on the battlefield, he could compose with a pen, he could play games, and he could race cars. But something like holding a child was simply an S-grade difficulty. Fang Zhao, who was always calm, was nervous. Fang Zhao really didn't have much contact with this kind of fragile little life. In his previous life, he had seen many newborns, but he hadn't had much contact with them. He always felt that this kind of newborn life was too fragile. He was used to fighting monsters, but he really wasn't used to touching this kind of delicate little life. Under the gentle light, Fang Zhao looked at the little life lying in the swaddling clothes. With his hearing, he could hear the baby's light breathing. She was sleeping there peacefully, but Fang Zhao's heart wasn't at peace. It was as if violin strings and piano keys rang out in his mind, like a clear stream of spring water. This was a child born on planet Baiji. She was going to start her life on planet Baiji. Perhaps she might be different from the children born and raised on Earth. Perhaps she would be braver and would face more challenges, but in the future, her steps would become firmer and her path would become wider. Her parents hoped that she would live a peaceful life. Fang Zhao also hoped that her future would be warm and bright. Luckily, Liu Yang didn't feel at ease letting Fang Zhao hold the baby all the time, so he quickly passed the baby to the nurse. Only then did Fang Zhao let out a long sigh. Liu Yang teased him again, but teasing was just teasing. Before Fang Zhao left, Liu Yang and his wife once again expressed their sincere gratitude. They thanked Fang Zhao for taking over their duties, thanked Fang Zhao for preventing a disaster for them, and thanked Fang Zhao for everything he had done for the Baiji military district. After bidding farewell to Liu Yang and his wife, Fang Zhao went downstairs but didn't leave immediately. Instead, he sat on a bench in the corner of a small park behind the building where patients and family members strolled. He took out a small notebook he always carried and started writing. A nurse wheeled a patient past. She noticed a strange person sitting on the bench and paid special attention to him. The other party's head was lowered, so she couldn't see his appearance clearly. However, this nurse could see the words written in the notebook. She couldn't understand a single word. She wasn't trying to pry into other people's secrets. She had just taken a curious glance, but this glance made her suspicious. Today, they had received news that the head nurse had told them to be on high alert and be on guard against any abnormal situations. Her heart tightened, and she hastened her steps. After pushing the patient away, she immediately contacted the hospital's security team. I just saw a suspicious person. He even wrote a lot of codes that I can't understand. Perhaps it's some sort of secret code. When the security team heard this, they took it seriously. Today, the base was in turmoil. The security chief had been called out for a meeting last night to understand the situation. After that, he had led the team to guard the hospital the entire night. Shanta wanted to arrest someone, so they had to be on guard against certain people who might do something desperate. They couldn't let their guard down. Now that most of the arrests had been made, they relaxed a little and decided to catch up on some sleep. He had just closed his eyes for a while when he heard that a suspicious person had appeared in the hospital. All his sleepiness was gone. He turned over and sat up, exuding a murderous aura. Where is the suspicious person? This bunch of people are really asking for a beating. They won't know what's good for them if they don't throw them in jail and give them a beating. See if I don't, Captain. One of the security team members had a strange expression. Speak. The security chief wasn't happy at being interrupted. This was definitely not his bad mood after waking up. The security team member pointed to the surveillance screen that had just been brought up. According to the location that nurse gave us, we have located the surveillance footage. However, the person that was captured looks a little familiar. Could there be some sort of advisory board involved? Misunderstanding? The security chief strode over and glanced at the surveillance screen. He was dumbfounded. This. Isn't this Fang Zhao? I think so too, the security team member agreed. Just then, Fang Zhao seemed to have sensed something and raised his head to look in the direction of the surveillance screen, allowing the security team to see his face. It really is him. The security chief's rage was thoroughly extinguished. Fang Zhao raised his head and glanced at the surveillance screen, then lowered his head and continued writing at a rapid pace. The security chief scratched his head and decided to go back and catch up on his sleep. Cough, contact that nurse. Tell her not to disturb Fang Zhao. I reckon that fellow is composing. They knew that Fang Zhao could open his little notebook at any time and write down music scores that they didn't recognize. This behavior seemed a little strange to them, but it was understandable. People who dabbled in the arts had this sort of personality. They all knew about Fang Zhao's situation and had been told by their superiors not to disturb Fang Zhao unless it was urgent. After all, Fang Zhao was the benefactor of the entire Baiji base garrison, so it wasn't good for them to interrupt this composer's inspiration. Over at the hospital, the nurse that had been watching Fang Zhao vigilantly from afar got a call from the security team instead of the security team coming to arrest him. They even told her and her colleagues not to disturb Fang Zhao. What the hell? Weren't these security team members usually rather unreasonable? Why were they so terrified today? You just arrived. It's understandable that you don't recognize him, the security team member explained patiently over the phone. The nurse was curious. Who is he? He is Fang Zhao. Which Fang Zhao? Our military district. No, I should say our planet Baiji. Which Fang Zhao is there? It's him. Sorry, I didn't see his face. I didn't know that was Fang Zhao. The new nurse's face was flushed and full of guilt. But why is he sitting there? What is he writing? You might not believe it, but he is composing. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.